A talk show host Oprah Winfrey will use her program as a forum so that local audiences here in Los Angeles might have a chance to express themselves.
I'm Oprah Winfrey, and I'm here in Los Angeles right now. On Monday, we're doing a special Oprah Winfrey show live from Los Angeles on the Rodney King verdict and the subsequent violence that has followed. If you would like to be a part of the show and you have some things that you would like to say, to air your concerns about what has happened, call this number.
Here's the number to call for the Oprah Winfrey Show in Los Angeles. 213-520-1ABC. That's 213-520-1ABC.
For a special presentation of the Oprah Winfrey Show this Monday from Los Angeles.
Oprah coming to Los Angeles. The number once again, 213-520-1ABC. That's it.
All right, on this Friday afternoon, a calmer day, we are glad to note that wraps up Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock. For Paul Moyer, Johnny Mountain, Todd Donahoe, and the entire Eyewitness News team, I'm Ann Martin. We thank you for watching us. The news continues right now with Harold Green and Laura Diaz.
Paul and Ann, thank you. In the news tonight, President Bush sends federal forces to California to help keep the peace. And he'll address the nation in just a moment to call for an end to violence and lawlessness. And Rodney King, speaking publicly for the first time since the trial, says that the looting and the burning is wrong.
Police and firefighters seem to be getting control of looting and fires as National Guard troops move into the Los Angeles area to help them restore order. And the prosecutor in the police beating trial says he feels some responsibility for the violence.
Next on Eyewitness News, #1 in Southern California.
For a tender steak sandwich, it matters how you slice it. At Jack in the Box, we begin with lean sirloin. Slice it thin so it grills up extra tender. Every slice is seasoned to perfection. And we top it off with fresh lettuce and tomato. The new thin sliced sirloin steak sandwich at Jack in the Box. Try a little tenderness.
The critics love the players.
It's going to be funny? Yeah, it'll be funny.
We're going to have a little sex in this, Mr.
Okay, sure, of course. We'll get it there. No stars, just talent.
Bruce Willis.
I like Golden. No Schwarzenegger.
Angelica Houston.
Julia Roberts.
It's Oscar time.
I would think my mother and her mother.
Robert Altman's
See, I told you, he's good.
The Players.
Yes.
Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
No matter how rough the weather or late the hour, no matter what it takes, Wells Fargo has come through since the days of the frontier. And we're still coming through today with longer hours so you can bank at your convenience. 24-hour person-to-person phone service and a friendly way of doing business that hasn't changed in over 140 years. If you want a better brand of service, get a move on to Wells Fargo.
In the world of luxury automobiles, you expect aerodynamic styling. A beautifully crafted, leather-trimmed interior, the uncompromising safety of drivers' and passenger side airbags, and the superior performance of a 24-valve engine. You just don't expect it to be so affordable. The Acura Luxury Lease Program. It's more than a lease. It's a legend.
You're watching the #1 station for news and information in Southern California. Channel 7 KABC-TV, Los Angeles. With Harold Green, Laura Diaz, Dallas Raines with weather, Todd Donahoe sports, and the entire Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News at 6.
Good evening, people. Can we all get along? With those words, a very emotional Rodney King begged for calm in the city tonight.
We can get along here. We all can get along. We just gotta, you know. I mean, we're all stuck here for a while. Let's try to work it out. Let's try to beat it. You know. Let's try and work it out.
We will have more of what Rodney King had to say just a little bit later in this broadcast. Laura.
It was a powerful moment, wasn't it, Harold?
Sure was.
It has been one of the worst urban riots in U.S. history and already the most expensive. And it's not over yet. Within the past hour, a new fire broke out near the intersection of the 5 and the 710 freeways. You see one of the fires right there. But that's the exception. Police and National Guard troops are moving in to regain control, and there are signs that calm is returning to the streets. We've been telling you, of course, that there's been a lot of that going on today, not only here, but across the country.
As well, the city remains under a curfew. It worked well last night. Today, the city officials spent some time talking to the president. He has authorized federal troops to come into our area. Troops are coming in from Fort Ord. They will be on a standby basis for a time, and the president is expected to speak, Laura, very shortly.
Yes, he's expected to appeal for calm throughout the country, not only the violence we're experiencing here in the Southland, but at hot spots across the country today. In Atlanta, Georgia, they had problems. In San Francisco, President Bush speaking right now.
Tonight, I want to talk to you about violence in our cities and justice for our citizens. Two big issues that have collided on the streets of Los Angeles. First, an update on where matters stand in Los Angeles. 15 minutes ago, I talked to California's Governor Pete Wilson and Los Angeles Mayor Tom Bradley. They told me that last night was better than the night before. Today, calmer than yesterday. But there were still incidents of random terror and lawlessness this afternoon. In the wake of the first night's violence, I spoke directly to both Governor Wilson and Mayor Bradley to assess the situation and to offer assistance. There are two very different issues at hand. One is the urgent need to restore order. What followed Wednesday's jury verdict in the Rodney King case was a tragic series of events for the city of Los Angeles. Nearly 4,000 fires, staggering property damage, hundreds of injuries, and the senseless deaths of over 30 people. To restore order right now, there are 3,000 National Guardsmen on duty in the city of Los Angeles. Another 2,200 stand ready to provide immediate support. To supplement this effort, I've taken several additional actions. First, this morning I've ordered the Justice Department to dispatch 1,000 federal riot-trained law enforcement officials to help restore order in Los Angeles, beginning tonight. These officials include FBI SWAT teams, special riot control units of the U.S. Marshals Service, the Border Patrol, and other federal law enforcement agencies. Second, another 1,000 federal law enforcement officials are on standby alert should they be needed. Third, early today, I directed 3,000 members of the 7th Infantry and 1,500 Marines to stand by at El Toro Air Station, California. Tonight, at the request of the governor and the mayor, I have committed these troops to help restore order. I'm also federalizing the National Guard, and I'm instructing General Colin Powell to place all those troops under a central command. What we saw last night and the night before in Los Angeles is not about civil rights. It's not about the great cause of equality that all Americans must uphold. It's not a message of protest. It's been the brutality of a mob, pure and simple. And let me assure you, I will use whatever force is necessary to restore order. What is going on in LA must and will stop. As your president, I guarantee you this violence will end. And now let's talk about the beating of Rodney King. Because beyond the urgent need to restore order is the second issue, the question of justice, whether Rodney King's federal civil rights were violated. What you saw and what I saw on the TV video was revolting. I felt anger. I felt pain. I thought, how can I explain this to my grandchildren? Civil rights leaders and just plain citizens fearful of and sometimes victimized by police brutality were deeply hurt. And I know good and decent policemen who were equally appalled. I spoke this morning to many leaders of the civil rights community, and they saw the video as we all did. For 14 months, they waited, patiently, hopefully. They waited for the system to work, and when the verdict came in, they felt betrayed. Viewed from outside the trial, it was hard to understand how the verdict could possibly square with the video. Those civil rights leaders with whom I met were stunned, and so was I, and so was Barbara, and so were my kids. But the verdict Wednesday was not the end of the process. The Department of Justice had started its own investigation immediately after the Rodney King incident and was monitoring the state investigation and trial. And so let me tell you what actions we are taking on the federal level to ensure that justice is served. Within 1 hour of the verdict, I directed the Justice Department to move into high gear on its own independent criminal investigation into the case. And next, on Thursday, 5 federal prosecutors were on their way to Los Angeles. Our Justice Department has consistently demonstrated its ability to investigate fully a matter like this. Since 1988, the Justice Department has successfully prosecuted over 100 law enforcement officials for excessive violence. I am confident that in this case, the Department of Justice will act as it should. Federal grand jury action is underway today in Los Angeles. Subpoenas are being issued. Evidence is being reviewed. The federal effort in this case will be expeditious and it will be fair. It will not be driven by mob violence, but by respect for due process and the rule of law. We owe it to all Americans who put their faith in the law to see that justice is served. But as we move forward on this or any other case, we must remember the fundamental tenet of our legal system. Every American, whether accused or accuser, is entitled to protection of his or her rights. In this highly controversial court case, a verdict was handed down by a California jury. To Americans of all races who were shocked by the verdict, let me say this: you must understand that our system of justice provides for the peaceful, orderly means of addressing this frustration. We must respect the process of law, whether or not we agree with the outcome. There's a difference between frustration with the law and direct assaults upon our legal system. In a civilized society, there can be no excuse for the murder, arson, theft, and vandalism that have terrorized the law-abiding citizens of Los Angeles. Mayor Bradley, just a few minutes ago, mentioned to me his particular concern, among others, regarding the safety of the Korean community. My heart goes out to them and all others who have suffered losses. The wanton destruction of life and property is not a legitimate expression of outrage with injustice. It is itself injustice. And no rationalization, no matter how heartfelt, no matter how eloquent, can make it otherwise. Television has become a medium that often brings us together, but its vivid display of Rodney King's beating shocked us. And the America it has shown us on our screens these last 48 hours has appalled us. None of this is what we wish to think of as American. It's as if we were looking in a mirror that distorted our better selves and turned us ugly. We cannot let that happen. We cannot do that to ourselves. We've seen images in the last 48 hours that we will never forget. Some were horrifying, almost beyond belief. But there were other acts, small but significant acts in all this ugliness that give us hope. I'm one who respects our police. They keep the peace. They face danger every day. They help kids. They don't make a lot of money, but they care about their communities and their country. Thousands of police officers and firefighters are risking their lives right now on the streets of LA, and they deserve our support. And then there are the people who've spent each night not in the streets, but in the churches of Los Angeles, praying that man's gentler instincts be revealed in the hearts of people driven by hate. And finally, there were the citizens who showed great personal responsibility, who ignored the mob, who, at great personal danger, helped the victims of violence regardless of race. Among the many stories I've seen and heard about these past few days, one sticks in my mind. The story of one savagely beaten white truck driver, alive tonight, because four strangers, four black strangers, came to his aid. Two were men who had been watching television and saw the beating as it was happening, came out into the street to help. Another was a woman on her way home from work. And the fourth, a young man whose name we may never know. The injured driver was able to get behind the wheel of his truck and tried to drive away, but his eyes were swollen shut. And the woman asked him if he could see, and he answered no, and she said, well, then I will be your eyes. Together, those four people braved the mob and drove that truck driver to the hospital. He is alive today, only because they stepped in to help. It is for every one of them that we must rebuild the community of Los Angeles. For these four people and the others like them, who in the midst of this nightmare acted with simple human decency. We must understand that no one in Los Angeles or any other city has rendered a verdict on America. If we are to remain the most vibrant and hopeful nation on earth, we must allow our diversity to bring us together, not drive us apart. This must be the rallying cry of good and decent people. For their sake, for all our sakes, we must build a future where in every city across this country, empty rage gives way to hope, where poverty and despair give way to opportunity. After peace is restored to Los Angeles, we must then turn again to the underlying causes of such tragic events. We must keep on working to create a climate of understanding and tolerance, a climate that refuses to accept racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, and hate of any kind, anytime, anywhere. Tonight, I ask all Americans to lend their hearts, their voices, and their prayers to the healing of hatred. As president, I took an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, an oath that requires every president to establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility. That duty is foremost in my mind tonight. Let me say to the people saddened by the spectacle of the past few days, to the good people of Los Angeles, caught at the center of this senseless suffering, the violence will end. Justice will be served. Hope will return. Thank you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Harold Green and Laura Diaz back in Los Angeles. We've been listening to the president. In just a minute here on Channel 7, you will hear Rodney King appealing for calm in the streets of Los Angeles. Stay with us.
I think you'll love my country. With its reverence for tradition, its appreciation of beauty, its regard for peace and tranquility. I'd love to take you there on my airline, with its tradition of person-to-person service. Enjoy the peace, tranquility, and comfort of Delta's MD-11 service, non-stop to Tokyo.
We love to fly and it shows.
Some people look at a Jeep Wrangler and say, why? Other people sit in a Jeep Wrangler and say,
Na, 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 na.
Colombian beans, the richest coffee in the world. UBAN, the spirit of coffee.
The American Impressions Collection by Ethan Allen. Just because you don't have a lot of money to throw around doesn't mean you have to live with disposable furniture. There's a sale now at your Ethan Allen Gallery.
What could be better than a spectacular scoop of Baskin-Robbins ice cream? How about topping it with a second scoop for just 49 cents?
There's a breaking development occurring right now in the Southland. Apparently, the Hollywood freeway has been shut down. Let's go upstairs to Captain Ron and News Chopper 7 to find out exactly what's happening. Captain Ron?
Okay, thanks a lot, Harold. We're here at Florence in the Harbor Freeway, and the report is that just a few moments ago, police and firemen were working at Florence and Grand. And while they were working on a fire at that time, there were shots fired at them. The police then went in pursuit of 3 suspects and ended up chasing him to this location that we're looking at here at Florence and the Harbor Freeway. There were shots fired apparently at this location. The report is that there is 1 suspect that is down at this time. Now, as I come around on this side of the freeway here, we're actually looking at the west side of the freeway. You'll see where the shooting occurred, and apparently at this location is where one of the suspects is down. Now, you can look at the Harbor Freeway if we pan back just a little bit, and we have closed the Harbor Freeway at this time in both directions. That's the information that we have at this time. Harold, back to you.
All right, thanks, Captain Ron. The Harbor Freeway shut down. Fortunately, it has been a day of light traffic in the Southland, not to minimize the inconvenience of the folks right now who are stuck both north and south.
Also, many people did not go to work today, and the school shut down as well.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the most emotional appeals for an end to the violence came today from Rodney King himself. He pleaded with everyone to get along and to work it out. John North joins us now with more on what King had to say today. John.
Laura, as you know, it's the first time since the verdict and the violence that it spawned that Rodney King has been heard from. It's also the first time in 14 months since the videotaped beating that King has spoken publicly.
I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids? And I mean, we've got enough smog here in Los Angeles, let alone to deal with the setting these fires and things. It's just not right. It's not right, and it's not gonna change anything. We'll get our justice. They've won the battle, but they haven't won the war. We'll have our day in court, and that's all we want. And just, I love, you know, I'm neutral. I love people of color. You know, I'm not like they picking me out to be. We've got to quit. We've got to quit. You know, after all, I mean, I can understand the first upset for the first 2 hours after the verdict, but to keep going on like this, and to see the security guard shot on the ground, it's just not right. It's just not right, because those people will never go home to their families again. And I mean, please, we can get along here. We all can get along. We just gotta, you know. I mean, we're all stuck here for a while. Let's try to work it out. Let's try to beat it. You know, let's try and work it out.
As you heard President Bush say, there will be a federal civil rights investigation, but King's day in court again may come in October, when his federal civil rights suit against the police department and city for money is scheduled to begin trial. The acquittals of the 4 officers charged with beating him will make that a more difficult case. Harold?
John, thanks. We'll be right back with more Eyewitness News. Stay with us.
The $92 weekend in Don Cott, California. Just $92 down delivers any new car or truck. Over 2,000 new Fords, Lincolns, Mercurys, Chryslers, and Plymouths. $92 down delivers. Convertibles, 4x4s, Explorers, minivans, anything and everything. $92 down delivers. This weekend, take the San Diego Freeway to Avalon Boulevard to Don Cott, California. It's Bargain City, USA.
stakes. Montgomery Ward.
At Electric Avenue, Montgomery Ward, all tractors and mowers are on sale. Save $70 on our 4.5 horsepower 3-in-1 mower, just $229. Save $200 on this 18 horsepower tractor. Get instant discounts even on sale prices on all the hottest brands like Sony, Panasonic, Frigidaire, Maytag. Take 30 to 50% off the biggest names in furniture. Then take an extra 10% off, even on sale prices.
Now through Sunday, it's Krause's Sofa Factory's giant factory direct sale.
Our lowest sofa prices in 10 years.
Krause's sofas are handcrafted in our own factory, so you get made-to-order selection at factory direct prices.
Two-piece sofa and love seat sets start at only $5.98 in your choice of 10 beautiful fabrics.
And made-to-order sofas start at only $324. All come with Krause's lifetime guarantee.
So save hundreds during Krause's factory direct sale with our lowest prices in 10 years.
And get free financing until September.
Krause's Sofa Factory, made to order.
Made affordable.
When the eating starts, the talking stops. I know I got good barbecue. Folks ask, how you do that? I don't say a thing. I let the sauce do my talking. KC Masterpiece Barbecue Sauce. This sauce says onion, says garlic, molasses. It's no dressed up ketchup. This sauce says barbecue loud and clear. Just listen. Your mouth will tell you. KC Masterpiece is barbecue.
Congress gave us a deficit and a recession and themselves a pay raise. That's crazy. Take away the pay raise and all their perks. That's reform.
We told you that we'd have an interview with the prosecutor in the police beating trial, but due to the breaking news, we can't bring that to you at 6 o'clock. We'll try to bring it to you at 11 o'clock. This week's wave of violence has indeed scarred our city and left an incredible number of innocent victims in its wake. For many, it may take months, perhaps years, to rebuild their lives if they can. Reporter Mark Coogan is standing by with a news van with more on that. Mark.
Well, Laura, today fewer fires, fewer bullets flying, not so many sirens. Those are the improvements in the riot-torn areas of Los Angeles. But then, as you mentioned, there are problems that are just beginning. And here it won't matter what people have been doing or not doing in the riot. Everyone is going to suffer. Things were quieting down. The National Guard was present in force, and that was a stabilizing factor. But many people wish they'd gotten here a lot sooner, maybe even before the verdict in Simi Valley.
Every store up here on this block has been burnt, from Western, from one end to the other end, you know. I mean, we have to go a long way to one store.
And here was the real problem, one that won't go away anytime soon. No stores, no food, no jobs.
I go to the market, there's no milks on the shelves. I have to go way on Fairfax and 3rd. They're looking at us like we're stealing, and I have cash on me.
The telephones are out, our power is out. The police and National Guards are walking up and down the street. You know, you watch TV and you see this, you never expect to see it in your own neighborhood.
We was on our way to the grocery store, and the Koreans was just shooting. It was really sad. I wasn't stealing anything, we just wanted to go to the store. And I just pray that, you know, the National Guards can help us all.
I think the whole message is, I mean, it's not just from the Rodney King thing, but it's from the Natasha Harlins and stuff before that just been boiling. And now, you know, they should learn to give, you know, us some respect out here, you know.
Today's fires were fewer and farther between, but firefighters still had their hands full, like with looters who didn't want to be disturbed.
We went there, put the fire out. We're backing out. Some looters were around there. We told the guys, hey, guys, get out of here. The cops are coming. The guys got ready to leave. And we started picking our hose up. We heard about 5 or 6 rounds go off.
And in the meantime, life went on in the militarized zone.
One thing, though, with the curfew, last night was the quietest, the most peaceful rest that I've had in God knows how long.
This behind me was an appliance store on Pico Boulevard in the Fairfax area, one of the Albies chain. It was a 2-story building. There were professional offices on top. It was looted Wednesday, shortly after the verdict in the Rodney King beating trial. That was the first time. And then looters came back yesterday and finished the job and burned the building to the ground. The owner was here a short time ago, and I spoke with him and asked him if he was going to rebuild, and he said he did not know. Reporting live from the Mid-Wilshire area, this is Mark Coogan. Laura, Harold, back to you.
Mark, thanks for the update there. The curfew that proved so successful late last night will be in effect again tonight. This time, it will be extended to cover all unincorporated parts of Los Angeles County, as well as the entire city of Los Angeles. Also included in the dawn to dusk curfew, West Hollywood, Torrance, Long Beach, and Burbank. Curfew means if you have no business on the streets, If you're not going to or coming from work, you can expect to be stopped and questioned. Also, many events are canceled or postponed this weekend, so if you have tickets, you should check to make sure that the event is still on. Laura.
We'll have more on the riot. Stay with us. We'll have more in just a minute.
These are not enchiladas. These are El Torito enchiladas. And if you know anything at all about Mexican cooking, you can taste the difference between ordinary enchiladas and El Torito enchiladas, just like you can with all the food.
Now you can choose any 3-item classic combination for just $5.95.
Nobody else makes Mexican food taste this good.
El Torito. Here, taste is everything.
The top 5 reasons for choosing a new Mazda MPV. Drive the neighborhood kids around and get all the gossip on their parents. It has an available V6 engine. Previa doesn't. It made Car and Driver's 10 Best list twice. It comes loaded with air and power windows for only $279 a month. But the #1 reason for choosing a Mazda MPV, you can't fit all the kids in a Ferrari. See your neighborhood Mazda dealer today for great values.
When I stand on top of a mountain, just for 1 second, I feel the truth of my life. My God, we're going to K2. Welcome to the Death Zone.
K2, the ultimate high. Rated R.
Now playing at select theaters.
Just when you think you've done it all, seen it all, read it all, Jacqueline Briskin takes you to the other side of love. Give it a try.
For the latest Eyewitness News, stay tuned to Channel 7.
Tragic situation in Northern California. As we understand it, it's happening right now in the Yuba County community of Olivehurst. What has happened there, apparently an armed man walked into a high school, opened fire, shooting 8 people. This is some 40 miles north of Sacramento. Right now, we switch to our reporter on the scene, Linda Marcus from our sister station KGO, standing up there live, telling us exactly what's happening. Linda?
Actually, it's Laura, but the hostage situation is unfolding before our eyes in just the last 10 minutes or so. I'm here at Lyndhurst High School, which is, as you say, right outside of Sacramento, about 40 miles or so. And if you take a look at the tape we shot just a few moments ago, you will see a number of students running out of a nearby classroom. We are told that these were none of the hostages, that these were students that were hiding in a different building. The man remains armed in the building, holding about 35 to 40 hostages. Most of them are high school students. There is one teacher with them. The man is in his late 19 years old, early 20s. We've heard reports that he used to be a student here at Lyndhurst High School and that he came here at about 2 o'clock this afternoon and said that he was displeased with the way he had been treated at this school. We have heard that there are reports of 9 injuries. 1 person has been injured critically. 8 others are in stable condition. And that is the latest here from Lyndhurst High School outside of Yuba City. Laura Marquez reporting.
We got it, Laura. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're all hoping for a time of healing here. And talk show host Oprah Winfrey will use her program Monday as a bit of a community forum to offer the LA audience a chance to express themselves.
I'm Oprah Winfrey, and I'm here in Los Angeles right now. On Monday, we're doing a special Oprah Winfrey show live from Los Angeles on the Rodney King verdict and the subsequent violence that has followed. If you would like to be a part of the show and you have some things that you would like to say, to air your concerns about what has happened, call this number.
Here's the number to call for the Oprah Winfrey Show in Los Angeles. 213-520-1ABC. That's 213-520-1ABC.
For a special presentation of the Oprah Winfrey Show this Monday from Los Angeles.
That number again is 213-520-1ABC.
All right, Laura, that wraps it up for us. For Laura Diaz, I'm Harold Green. On behalf of the entire Eyewitness News team, take care of one another and have a safe, sane weekend, everybody. Good night.
All of Los Angeles will be under curfew again tonight. More people have died, but the general level of violence subsided during the day. Rodney King, the man the police beat, appeals for the violence to end.
people, I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along?
Nevertheless, President Bush puts 4,000 soldiers and Marines on standby in case they are needed.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. There's still a great deal of anger and sadness in many parts of the nation tonight. There's also a great deal of anxiety and even fear because so many people are uncertain whether the violence in Los Angeles and a number of other cities has run its course. This evening at the White House, President Bush said he will send 4,500 soldiers and Marines into Los Angeles to help restore order, and he has put 3,000 National Guard troops already there under federal control. More on the President's speech to the nation this evening from ABC's Britt Hume.
The President said there were two issues, the first being what he called the brutality of a mob in the streets of Los Angeles. He promised a prompt end to that.
It's been the brutality of a mob, pure and simple. And let me assure you, I will use whatever force is necessary to restore order. What is going on in L.A. must and will stop. As your president, I guarantee you, this violence will end.
In addressing the Rodney King case, the President clearly identified himself with those shocked and outraged by the verdict.
What you saw and what I saw on the TV video was revolting. I felt anger. I felt pain. I thought, how can I explain this to my grandchildren? Civil rights.
Much of the President's morning was devoted to meeting with veteran civil rights leaders with whom he's often disagreed, but who were invited to the White House today. Officials keep saying the President has no comment on the King verdict. But Mr. Bush told those leaders he'd been, quote, shocked and amazed by it. The leaders generally supported Mr. Bush's alerting of the troops, but left no doubt their cooperation is a matter of necessity, not choice.
George Bush is the only president we have. Are we going to appeal to Reagan, to Carter, to Ford? No. We're appealing to George Bush because he's the president, and we're going to work with him to see that he does what he ought to do.
This speech tonight was designed to deal with the immediate crisis, while the President said the nation must address the deeper causes of the Los Angeles violence. He did not mention any new programs to do that. In the days and weeks ahead, he is sure to be called on to offer just such programs. Peter?
Thank you, Brett, very much. In Los Angeles tonight, the state of siege is not over. More than 36 people have now died. More than 1,400 have been injured. More than 4,000 people are under arrest. The police and the National Guard do not yet have the city completely under their control. In Los Angeles this evening, ABC's John Martin.
At dawn, smoke still hung over the city, but it seemed that the curfew had worked. Streets were largely deserted. Today, much of the downtown district was quiet. The stock exchange was open, but almost nobody came to trade. Universities shut down. USC postponed final exams. Many workers stayed home. Drivers lined up to buy gas from stations that had closed last night. All night, National Guard troops and police patrolled to enforce the curfew. All this only hours after some shopkeepers, this one Korean, fought off looters. Many Koreans suffered total losses. Blacks targeted their stores with a vengeance. Some black businesses nearby, labeled as black-owned, escaped damage. But even black shop owners were struck.
I don't believe it had anything to do with Rodney King. I think it has to do with people's greed.
This morning, the number of fires still burning was down to 5. There had been 5,000 reported alarms involving 2,000 homes and stores hit by arson in 24 hours. At a post office in the riot area, residents lined up for Social Security checks and monthly welfare assistance.
We need to have our money, you know, to go on every day.
But the lines were overwhelming. An official called for order as hundreds worried about whether they would get checks to buy necessities.
These are not the people who bombed and looted and destroyed the store. These people want to get their money.
Police were still under fire today. 3 officers were hit with flying glass in a sniper attack. A suspect was shot in return. National Guard troops were beginning to move into positions to the relief of Mayor Tom Bradley.
We are going to ensure the safety of this city, and we are going to take back the streets from those thugs and hoodlums who have used this as a device, as an excuse to loot, to burn, to kill, and we will not tolerate it.
At mid-afternoon, almost exactly 48 hours after the verdict that triggered the violence, the man whose beating started it all spoke publicly for the first time.
I can understand the first upset for the first 2 hours after the verdict, but to keep going on like this, and to see the security guard shot on the ground, it's just not right.
Rodney King called for calm and reconciliation, and that seemed to strike a chord here. John Martin, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Around the country today, some people felt compelled to express their outrage at the King verdict in public ways. Some of them were peaceful, some of them were not. At Atlanta's University Center, students who had been demonstrating all day were confronted by police trying to prevent them from leaving campus. The shouting turned into throwing, rocks and bottles from one side and tear gas from the other. Elsewhere in the country, the governor of Nevada called out the National Guard today to restore order in Las Vegas. After a night of violence and looting, homes and businesses were burned and 3 people are dead. By daybreak today in the San Francisco area, 1,400 people had been arrested. A state of emergency was declared in the city itself. People blocked bridges and freeways and disrupted downtown shopping areas. The cleanup continues today in Seattle, where some people overturned cars and looted downtown stores for most of last night. There were peaceful demonstrations today in, among other places, Richmond, Virginia, Chicago, and New York. In New York City, thousands of students marched to a rally at City Hall. Persistent rumors of violence caused businesses to close throughout the city, but there have been no reports of any violence. There is one late story from California this evening, apparently not related to the violence in Los Angeles. A heavily armed man, said to be a former student, opened fire at a high school in the town of Olivehurst, north of the capital, Sacramento. 1 adult and 7 students are said to be injured. The gunman may be holding as many as 40 students hostage. We'll have more in just a moment.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Cotton Incorporated.
In the silent dawn, a golden sun, soft kiss, warm smile, the day's begun, the touch, the feel, the fabric of our lives, the touch, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Have you ever wondered how a professional painter can always get such great results? Because no matter what the job, he'll always start off in the exact same place. At a Sherwin-Williams store, there's only one paint that's good, and there's only one place you can get it. The pros know. Ask Sherwin-Williams.
With at least 35 people dead, more people have died in Los Angeles in the last 48 hours than were killed during the week of riots that tore apart the Watts section of that city in the summer of 1965. One young man on the streets last night said, yes, it's gotten out of hand, but society has gotten out of hand. In Los Angeles tonight, many people want to get as far away from what they fear as they possibly can. Here's ABC's Judy Muller.
Like refugees leaving a war zone, many LA residents today fled to safer ground, like Santa Barbara, where hotels are now turning people away. Those who could not leave were stocking up.
We're experiencing about twice as much business as we normally would on a Friday morning.
Following a night of fear, people had developed a bunker mentality.
I fear for my kids. I don't let them go out of the house. I'm not going to watch them get hurt.
They were stocking up not only on bread, but on bullets.
38 specials are $10.95.
Although gun shops in L.A. have been ordered closed, this shop in neighboring Glendale is doing a brisk business. Unlike the Watts riots of the 60s, this violence has spread out of South Central L.A. to wealthier neighborhoods. Last night there was looting near Beverly Hills and in Hollywood, where residents barricaded their streets. As the trouble spread, so did the fear. Even though this neighborhood in West LA is less than 10 miles from South Central, the two communities have been worlds apart until this week. Laura and Justin McCormick live here. They have become increasingly anxious as the violence comes closer and closer.
I wasn't old enough to remember Vietnam or a lot of these incidences, but that's what I feel like. I feel like we're in the middle of like a war or something.
I think people were shocked when the verdict came down. But I mean, I don't think violence or looting is the answer, and I think that's obvious, and it's not going to make things better. It's just going to make things worse.
On the other side of town, some people feel that the upward mobility of fear is not such a bad thing.
When you've lived in a state of fear for as long as I've lived it, you know, you can't help but kind of have a sense of gratitude when other people have to experience some of what you've been experiencing.
But few are likely to share his sense of gratitude, given what this city has been through and the fears of what is to come. Judy Muller, ABC News, Los Angeles.
In those neighborhoods which have been extensively damaged, there is little or no opportunity for people to leave. Some of them are places of such despair that the Reverend Jesse Jackson said today young men who do leave because they are sent to prison actually often believe they're going to a better place. Today in those neighborhoods where people have burned or looted what little they have, it is, if possible, worse. Here's ABC's Brian Rooney.
They burned the dry cleaners, the corner markets, and looted the shoe stores. They walked away with furniture. What's left is closed, protected by the National Guard. Rioters destroyed many businesses owned by people who do not live here, but they also destroyed the neighborhood for the people who do. A lot of these shops are not insured and will not reopen. In 2 days, the looters took just about everything inside the ABC Market, a large neighborhood store where you could cash your check or get credit for groceries.
Really, you know, I don't understand it. You know, my employees don't understand it because this is their community, but that's the way they chose to handle it.
A lot of the people got caught up in the moment of what they were doing. I guarantee you it wasn't the average person that lived here.
Some families who live within sight of the ABC Market will now have to travel several miles to get groceries.
Where do I go and buy milk for my children now? They have burned up everything. Where do I go and get food for my family? Okay? It have hurt the black community tremendously.
There is no single mind or purpose at work here. Everybody shares the same frustrations, but a day later, the community itself is debating why this happened. This man said it was a good thing.
It looks bad, but what happens? Now they have to go to the black-owned stores that wasn't hit.
That provoked an argument.
This is not a black issue. This is a human issue.
Some of the people at the cleanup today were also here yesterday. Some of the people around here told me that you were one of the guys here yesterday. They saw you leave here with a couple of shopping carts full of stuff.
They didn't lie either.
Now he and many others will have to live with what they did. Brian Rooney, ABC News, South Central Los Angeles.
In a moment, how it looks to observers overseas.
Stay within the lines. The lines are our friends. Stay within. Stay within the lines. The lines are our friends.
Introducing the world's first V6 crayon.
Are you listening?
The Isuzu Rodeo, built to go way outside the lines.
Red Devil enamel. You can always count on its durable finish. Harder than ordinary paints, its beauty lasts and lasts. Red Devil enamel for the finish of a lifetime.
Dear Thompson's, when the store ran out of Thompson's water seal, we finished our deck with another brand. What a mistake. The Thompson side beat it up, the other side, nothing. Even the clerk agreed, nothing works like Thompson's. Sincerely, Becky Jones, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, is Tegrin shampoo on sale? Nope, that's their new lower price. But it's still just as tough on dandruff, right? Sure, Tegrin doesn't do less, just costs less. Sounds right to me.
Tegrin, the right dandruff shampoo at the right price.
I'm trying it and I feel great.
It's Grape Nuts. Try it for a week.
Breakfast with Grape Nuts helps keep us going all morning. It's a natural energy source and it's fat-free.
Post Grape Nuts cereal. Try it for a week.
You'll feel so good you did.
Overseas, the riots in Los Angeles have hit a particular nerve in South Korea. In Los Angeles, more than 100 stores owned by Korean Americans have been looted or burned. The South Korean government says the U.S. should now station special guards to protect Korean businesses. In many other countries, people are asking, what does all this say about the United States? Here's ABC's Mark Litke.
From London
Guten Abend.
to Berlin to Tokyo, it has filled the airwaves and dominated the headlines. Flames of hate in the City of Angels, the shaming of America, and the coverage is shaping the world's opinion of America.
I never seen that before. It's crazy.
I feel that America's one step away from South Africa.
French President Francois Mitterrand today blamed the Bush administration for neglecting social issues. Libya had a propaganda field day, calling the violence a black rebellion. The Times of London today even questioned America's future effectiveness in international diplomacy.
This is going to be difficult if people, particularly on the human rights level, are going to turn around to them and say, you can't get things right in your own backyard.
In Great Britain and Japan, tourists have been warned to stay away from troubled areas in Los Angeles. It was on the minds of those flying to LA from London this morning.
I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll just stay clear of the trouble.
Then there have been the demonstrations of solidarity, especially from ethnic minorities in several countries.
I'm all the way over here in England, and I feel it. I feel what my brothers and sisters are feeling in LA. I really do.
Criticism of violence and racism in America is nothing new, but overseas tonight, the Rodney King affair has seriously tarnished America's image as a symbol of justice and democracy. Mark Litke, ABC News, London.
We'll have some of the day's other news in just a moment.
The 110 was shut down. That caused obviously some big problems. Now that's been reopened. Let's check in with Jim Thornton and KNX Traffic Control to find out what the latest on the conditions are. Jim?
Yeah, the traffic isn't really backed up that heavily on the Harbor Freeway because everybody is really keeping so close to the media, watching Channel 2, watching listening to the radio, watching TV. They know about it, so there wasn't a lot of backup. So don't be surprised if it's not a lot of slowing. But really, the Harbor Freeway, I got to tell you, I would stay away from there anyhow. But if you have to take it, it's been a very light drive. Really, most of our freeways have been very light all around the Southland. The only heavy traffic that we've had, as we told you a little while ago, has really been with people getting out of town. The 10 on the east side was very heavy earlier. That's now getting lighter. The 60 also is getting lighter volume. In Orange County, the southbound 5 earlier was very heavy, but there too, now the volume at least is on the upswing. So if there's a good side to any of this, it is very light if you have to drive anywhere right now around the Southland.
Not too long ago, I spoke to someone in San Diego who said it was quite the opposite thing, though, in San Diego, where they're receiving a lot of the motorists from Los Angeles, and it was quite packed, and a lot of businesses were closing early there as well because of the bad traffic.
One report I heard from San Diego, Bree, was that I-5 near the UCSD campus was blocked off for a while by demonstrators.
Same thing I heard.
Protesting. Now, here we have a shot. Is that the 110 freeway we're looking at there?
Yes,
and that's the 110.
See, virtually empty. I guess the weekend weather will play a major factor in just how successfully people in cities in the Southland without a curfew, namely San Diego, will have it. So we'll check in with the weekend weather forecast.
Steve Rambo standing by right after this.
Hi, Johnny.
Hi, Wendy.
Who is Wendy?
She's my cousin. She just dropped by.
Stall her.
Wait, where are you going?
Oh, Domino's. I need a pizza at 515 Wilbur. Call for a new Fiesta Pizza Feast. Spicy Mexican beef and veggies. A medium's just $8.99.
But I didn't order this.
I did.
Care to join me?
Domino's, my favorite.
Nobody knows like Domino's.
Around here, people genuinely dislike not being able to find things. Like house keys, eyeglasses, or a boyfriend. So how convenient that Bank of America has the most full-service ATMs in California. You can always find one and get to your money. This may or may not make up for the fact that you haven't seen your cat in 2 days. Versatiller machines, because you should be able to find at least one thing you need at all times. Bank of America.
Every month, millions of California families take hundreds of dollars and throw them away. This ritual is called paying the rent. Now, consider this. For about $700 $150 a month and $7,000 total move-in, you can own a beautiful new Kaufman & Broad home. Call 1-800-443-4040. Why waste all that beautiful cash paying the rent? With Kaufman & Broad Homes, you can have it all and have it now.
Freedent's the one.
Only one gum leads the way when you've got dental work, and that's Freedent. Freedent won't stick to your dental work, so you can be confident chewing it. And because it also moistens your mouth and freshens your breath, Freedent's in a class by itself.
Freedent's the one that took the stink out of gum, and Freedent moistens your mouth. Yeah, moistens your mouth and freshens your breath while you chew.
Non-stick Freedent moistens your mouth and freshens your breath.
Earlier, we told you that a lot of folks would be gathering at the First AME Church tomorrow morning to join in a big cleanup effort, to clean up after some of the devastation around the Southland. That's still going on. We want to give you the correct address. The address we gave you earlier was incorrect, we're told. What we're looking at now, the correct address is 2270 South Harvard at 6 a.m., 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Bring shovels, brooms, and trash bags if you'd like to join in this effort with your neighbors and clean up some of these neighborhoods. Now, question is, what's the weather going to be like for that, Steve Rambo? We could use some nice weather for the weekend.
Well, we have it. We will have it. We've got very cooperative weather. All the things are pointing in the good direction for us. It could be a lot more disastrous for us if we had last week's weather. But fortunately, we have cooler temperatures, a very high inversion layer. That's good. That allows the smoke to dissipate into the atmosphere up above, doesn't keep it capped down over us, so things should improve. Temperatures will stay moderate. We were looking at a warm-up coming in for the weekend, but instead, we're going to get mild temperatures for the weekend. In fact, today, we did not reach 80 degrees even. Our high today, 78. The low this morning, down to 60. And similar temperatures will be in here for the weekend. In fact, here, we can show you the satellite photo that shows that skies are continuing clear, and the reason we're not going to get a rapid warm-up is a couple of troughs or low-pressure areas that are moving ashore, and you can see a little system pushing out here. As this pushes in, we get a strong onshore flow. You can see the marine layer is really pushed out to sea, though. In fact, this satellite photo, which works on temperature as opposed to taking a visible picture of the clouds, it takes a temperature of the clouds and extrapolates that into a computer image. And what we have here is you can see the cloudiness right in here. This cloudiness is what we call the marine layer. Normally, this would be right up along the coast this time of year, but because we have that warm El Nino flow of ocean water, temperatures onshore, right offshore in the 60s instead of the upper 50s, that marine layer doesn't form as close to the shore because it needs the reaction between the relatively cold ocean water and the warmer temperature up above it. That cold ocean water is far out to sea right now. So look, there's the marine layer. We're getting a relatively clear sky. Just a little bit of low clouds along the coastal areas, patchy cloudiness at that, most of it north of Point Conception. Most of the state under high pressure and clearing conditions, but this trough will move on into the northwest, and that'll keep the onshore flow and the westerly winds in our area. As we look at the temperatures for tomorrow, we're looking at lower 80s through the valley areas, maybe around 85, San Bernardino, Pomona, Rialto, Narco, Corona, places like that. 78 down near Anaheim, Santa Ana, Huntington Beach about a 74, in Santa Monica around 72. Very pleasant conditions, although some of the beach areas are going to be closed, of course, in the LA County park beaches. And up in the high desert, 88 for Palmdale. The mountains cooling off after a week of temperatures in the 80s, back down into the 70s. Little leftover snow for the sightseers, but not much luck for the skiers, unless you want to go to Mammoth. I believe their last weekend of skiing is this weekend. And over the next 5 days, here's what we can expect. Mornings in the 60s, afternoons in the 80s. We will see the low clouds along the coastal areas, but very patchy low cloudiness at that. The sunshine will be warm and clear, a little bit of haze in the atmosphere. Our smog levels are going to be in the good to moderate range, and that is also good news because last week our smog levels were in the unhealthful to the first stage range, and when you add that natural, or unnatural but normal smog of the Southland with the problems with the smoke, we could have been looking at a really bad situation.
Nice weather will help put a smile on the faces of all of us cleaning up.
It should help. And from the Daily Planet side of what I do, I had some calls from some of the recycling centers wondering how they could help. And now with the first AME activity going on, I'm going to get on the phone to Gary Peterson. Did you hear that, Gary? And we'll see, and maybe we can hook them up.
Let's do that.
We'll do that right now. Okay, we'll report back in a few minutes.
Thanks a whole lot, Steve. You know, a couple of nights ago, a lot of us were touched by the images we saw on our television screen. A truck driver, a man named Reginald Denny, was pulled out and savagely beaten as we watched. Everybody was helpless. A lot of people touched by that. Well, he, of course, was hospitalized shortly after that. Some surgery followed. Our Patty Ecker will report now on just what's happening to him.
It is a little bit too early to tell the extent of his recovery, although we're hoping and praying that he will make a satisfactory recovery with regard to his brain function.
Denny suffered multiple skull and sinus fractures.
Reginald Denny was just doing his job on Wednesday, driving through South Los Angeles when he was attacked. 4 Good Samaritans saved his life by dragging him to safety.
Yes, he is here. He's in serious but stable condition.
Daniel Freeman Hospital is receiving thousands of calls from as far away as Canada. People want to send cards, money, flowers to Reginald Denny. 2 funds have been set up. One is for Denny, one for the hospital's other good works. The address is Truck Drivers Assistance Fund, Daniel Freeman Hospital's Foundation, 333 North Prairie Avenue, Inglewood, California, 90301.
All right, we also have a toll-free hotline that provides South Central LA residents with information on available city services that will remain operational through Monday. Councilwoman Rita Walters' office set up this hotline yesterday. It's manned by her staff and her volunteers. Number is 800-300-CITY. That should be easy to remember. 800-300-CITY. It's a good phone number. It's in operation from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to help you through the weekend function.
Why don't we run down some of the cities where the curfews will be taking effect at sundown. If you live in one of these following cities, you're urged to please not be on the streets tonight after sundown. If we can look at this, cities of Los Angeles, Hawthorne, Culver City, Inglewood, Linwood, Compton, Santa Monica, Southgate, Torrance, Long Beach, Signal Hill, Hermosa Beach, the city of San Fernando, Burbank, Maywood, Beverly Hills, and Huntington Park. Sundown tonight, officially 7:37. That is about yeah, about that.
Yeah,
Please stay off the streets after that.
Sorry, Mike. RTD buses will cease, did cease at 6 p.m. tonight to conform with dusk to dawn curfew regulations. And the RTD bus and trains will operate from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Today, when I saw the RTD bus back in operation on my way to work, I sort of felt like, well, maybe things are going to get back to normal relatively rapidly, and certainly to help folks get around through the weekend to start rebuilding the RTD buses will be very important.
Oh, let's hope so. Oh, well, now look at the toll the looting and the arson has taken on property. That damage is estimated now at more than $500 million, and many consider that number a real lowball estimate. Another staggering figure, 3,100 businesses either damaged or destroyed in this looting and rioting. We're told the property damage estimate does not include losses from all the extensive looting. That, of course, would be in the millions of dollars just by itself.
Lots of folks who are stockpiling for the weekend, and to do that, they are hanging out at the grocery store, of course, where our Jody Baskerville is as well, in Westchester. Jody?
Well, it's kind of unusual. You never think of going to the grocery store where you have to stay in line, but up until, I guess 10 minutes ago, there's been a line outside the Lucky's here in Westchester, and that's because the store was filled to capacity, and because of the fire code, they could only let in a certain number of customers at a time, so they were letting them in 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. They're also going to close early, and that's due to the run on a lot of the supplies. People have been having a problem finding a lot of these supplies. They've basics like bread, diapers, things like that. Let me talk to this lady over here. She came out with a full basket of groceries, but she said it was pretty difficult to get it. How difficult was it?
It was so difficult that I was 2 minutes before the store closed. We got 80 guys working double shifts at my job. They haven't been home. We set them up in this hotel. I rushed out to get them something to eat, and all I can get them was crackers and lunch meat. But they got something.
So what were they out of it? I heard the basics, that they're running low or they don't even have any.
They don't even have bread. They don't have milk. They don't have meats. They don't have a lot of foods that they normally have up in there. The deli is shut down. The bakery shut down. I mean, it's just amazing. Yeah. You can't even get chicken, and you always can get chicken.
Yeah, it has been difficult. Let me go over here. There's some gentlemen over here. You just came for diapers, and luckily you got a... How difficult was it to find a store that carried anything that you wanted?
I live in the Inglewood area, and all the stores and everything in that area are all closed down, so I had to come way over here, and I was driving around hoping to find something where I could... These diapers are in dire need here. I got to get these home right away. Okay. There's an emergency getting ready to happen at home.
I'm sure all the parents out there can relate to that. Yeah. Were you surprised by the stockpiling that's been going on, sir? A lot of people...
Very much so. I work in the South Bay area, and it's the Lucky's out there, and there were cars around the block almost trying to get to the grocery store today. And gas? Oh, man, you can't get gas nowhere.
How about you, gentlemen? You've been waiting for a long time, too.
I go to school at Loyola Marymount, and I was here yesterday, and it's been amazing. I am a student here at Loyola, and it's just
the people, there's been crowds here, and I mean, I've been back by the milk department, which is the very end of the supermarket, and I've been there waiting. I mean, the other day it took me 45 minutes just to buy groceries. Everyone here, I had to park about a half a mile down the street just to park around this area. Everyone's hanging out around here.
Are you stocking up on groceries, and if so, why? Why do you think people are doing that?
Just like the basics, like milk and bread and type stuff like that, because you figure, I mean, we're kind of like away from where most of the stuff's going on, and we're trying to like just get the stuff we need to survive, the milk, the bread, stuff like that, and like this guy's got diapers, just stuff that you need for daily life, and you're trying to get up on that stuff.
Do you think people are just stocking up? Are they going to be staying in this weekend? I know that's what's been suggested. How about you?
This weekend's going to be like a really quiet weekend. People are going to be staying home. They're going to be trying to avoid
golf course.
That too, but they're going to be trying to avoid going out, and I mean, people are going to get stuff that they need to survive day by day, exactly, just for the weekend.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. As you can see, Bree and Michael, people are planning ahead, and they're planning on spending the weekend at home, which is probably a good idea because that's what the police have been saying all along. If you don't have to go out, don't.
Right.
Jody, let that man with the diapers get home, please. That man is urgently needed.
I know you can relate to that. Bree can relate to that.
You bet. And the milk being gone, too. And we know that the milk is getting in short supply in a lot of grocery stores. You got to get there early in the morning tomorrow.
Past couple of days, we've heard an awful lot of community leaders pleading for peace. Okay, we're something new right now. We're going one place, now we're going to Chapter 2, where an airplane has apparently crashed into an auto parts store, and there you see the scene. Tell us what we're seeing down there.
Michael, Bree, we're at the corner of Rose and Lincoln Boulevard in Santa Monica, where it appears that an airplane has gone into an auto parts store. That is not confirmed as of yet, but we think we see remnants of a wing or a fuselage right here in the debris. The fire department's working frantically. They've put foam on the situation here to squelch the flame, and they're doing what they can to put this fire out.
Can you tell what kind of plane it is, Mark? We were having some talk in our ear. Did you say what kind of plane it is? Can you tell?
Well, Bree, like I said, we can't really tell if it is an airplane or not. The foam gives us a little bit of an indication, but we think there's a possibility that it just could have been an explosion that just blew this building apart.
You don't, in fact, see a wing or anything that would suggest an airplane, do you?
We can't see that.
Let me see if I can come around this smoke.
We see a car, some debris from what appears to be cars or a building blown apart.
This was not just a fire. This was some kind of an explosion caused either by an airplane or by just an explosion on the ground. Is that pretty apparent to you, Mark?
That's correct, Michael. We're trying to give you the best information we can. We thought we saw the remnants of a wing right behind that light stanchion or a fuselage, but then again, that could be part of the wall. We're located right at the end of the Santa Monica runway, and
right, I see what you were referring to, Mark. That it looks like.
Looks like a fuselage, perhaps.
Yeah, what's sticking up there, but that may be a post of some kind.
Bree, Michael, we've just got confirmation from Santa Monica Airport that this was not a plane, as we first suspected, that it was an explosion that ripped through this auto parts store. Not too long ago, by the way, either. The fire department responded quickly and put this blaze out.
Yeah, you can see what he might have been looking at. That might have been looking like a helicopter or rotor blade or something up there, but that is not. That is a post, and this is an explosion.
And Bree, that's all from this scene, Bree and Michael. We'll get back to you if we have more information.
Yeah, give us that location once again there.
That's at Lincoln and Rose in Santa Monica.
Okay, Mark Dunn, thank you very much from Chapter 2.
All right, and that's right near Santa Monica Airport, which Mark did point out. But we'll be back to that scene when we get some more information. In the meantime, Kim Mariner is standing by with a meeting of Latino leaders in East L.A. Kim.
Well, Bree, that's right. A number of political leaders, community leaders, civic leaders from the Latino community met at the Hollenbeck Youth Center just a short time ago to call for calm and to call for positive steps toward rebuilding the city. There have been no problems in East Los Angeles, in Boyle Heights or in Lincoln Heights, and they want to keep it that way. Assemblyman Javier Becerra outlined the plan. We have that plan. We'd like, if possible, to...
The community plan consists of the following 4 points. Reaching out and collaborating with the various communities of Los Angeles, especially the African-American and Korean communities, which have been hit so drastically, by providing them with support and manpower. Secondly, strengthening the current communication network between churches, schools, clubs, community organizations, elected officials, and police, to prevent the further spread of criminal activity and to aid in the apprehension of looters and arsonists. Third, we're honoring or asking the community throughout Los Angeles to honor the curfew that was called upon by the mayor by keeping our children at home. Fourth, we are calling for a temporary ban on the sale of all alcoholic beverages in the County of Los Angeles to help us keep the peace in LA County. Rebuilding entails concentrating, they said, on the youth, on education, on neighborhoods, training, and on jobs. Michael, Bree?
Kim, one of the most concrete plans there was the temporary ban on the sale of alcoholic beverages. That's a very advocate thing to do in
They'd like to see that to go into effect through the entire city or county of Los Angeles during these hours of turmoil.
We haven't heard anything as yet from anybody ordered to do that.
No.
I assume it would just be voluntary.
Right, but they may set the way for others to volunteer to do so also over the weekend.
Right.
And some beaches will be closed as well. 4 county-run beaches that are closest to most of the riot-ravaged areas have been closed. Will Rogers, Venice, and Dockweiler beaches on the Santa Monica Bay and Cabrillo Beach in San Pedro will remain closed until further notice.
We have been following an officer-involved shooting apparently right under the Harbor Freeway. Our Pat Lalama standing by on the scene. What's the latest in there, Pat?
Well, let me first update you on that shooting. They do have the other suspects in custody, but the problem is that because the harbor was closed off, these 2 young ladies were rerouted off the Harbor Freeway. And could you just talk to me just for a second? Okay, they were rerouted off the Harbor Freeway, and they were forced to drive into this area where there's been a lot of trouble. And could you try to, I know it's tough, could you try to explain to me what happened?
Is this going to be out on TV?
No, just tell me what you were telling me a minute ago, okay? Look at me. You can. What happened to you?
When we were coming down, the police directed us to go to that freeway, and some black guy came up to us and asked us for all our money, and we told him we didn't have any more. And he kept saying we did, and then he kept saying he was going to shoot us.
He told you he would shoot you?
Yes.
So you were just forced to give him money?
And everyone was watching, everyone. No one helped us at all.
Okay, all right. Just, you were rerouted. You were forced to come down Florence, and because you were 2 people just driving down the street, maybe they just saw that as an easy target, 2 females.
We asked the police, we can't stay in this neighborhood. We told them, they said.
Okay, all right. Obviously, we're trying very hard to find the positive in all of this, and there has been some improvement today, but it's still a very tough situation for everybody. Lots of tension, and it's best just to maybe just stay home.
Let's not make it worse for her. Stay there and comfort her if you can, and make our apologies to her.
And let's give her a little space, too. I think she deserves that. Where are we going next?
Patty Ecker.
Patty Ecker? All right. At a gas
line.
People are gassing up for the weekend now. Patty?
Well, Michael and Bree, it isn't as easy as it sounds. I am in the middle of what really is a madhouse. We have driven all the way across Manchester Boulevard from, well, on the other side of Inglewood to the Los Angeles International Airport. We have found 3, count them, 3 gas stations open. The lines here go, you can't see it because we have a certain cable restrictions, go 2 blocks down the street for gasoline. All of the rest of them are either closed or damaged or destroyed. How long have you been waiting to get gasoline, sir?
Far too long, about 25 minutes.
And did you drive a long time to get here?
Correct.
How far? Where's your home?
South Central Bronx.
But South Central Los Angeles, huh?
South Central Los Angeles.
How's your mood?
Worried and mad because these people don't know how to act.
I can imagine so. We have talked to people who have waited in line as long as an hour in order to get gasoline. We went to one gas station and we were about to bring it to you, and they closed down because they ran out of everything. Premium, unleaded, regular, they ran out of gas. They raised the prices on their gasoline 3 cents a gallon. Right here, the prices stayed the same. We had reports from the San Fernando Valley of gas stations that had raised their prices 20 cents a gallon. You know, one thinks of the words gouging and of the gas wars of the 1970s. So people have to be really careful this weekend. It may not be easy at all to find the gasoline you think we need, that you need. At one Chevron station that had closed down when we got there, they told me that they got no deliveries because their delivery truck couldn't come in. They ran out of gas, and that was the end of it. Everybody here, come around here, Joel. Well, now you're smiling. How long did you wait to get gas?
I waited about like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, you were one of the lucky ones then.
Well, look what I'm driving.
I guess so. Perhaps you didn't break into line, did you?
You best better believe it.
Unfortunately, that may well be true.
Come here.
No, well, what?
Do you think I'm going to wait for anything in this truck?
That's what I thought. Well, I think he may be one of the bigger ones and one of the lucky ones, but there are people waiting 2 blocks down the street. We are at outside of Los Angeles International Airport. If you need gas, take a bicycle, I think.
Good
Michael, Bree?
idea. Let's hope that the gas station owners, though, don't be opportunistic in this weekend at least.
You know, if a gas station raises its prices by 20 cents a gallon in time of crisis, that is nothing but gouging. I don't know what else you can call it. You know what you do with that? You remember that gas station, you never go there again.
Yep. Patty, can we go back to Patty for a second?
Of course you can go back to me.
Good. Did you try to talk to the gas station owner where they had raised the price?
Yes, and what the gas station owner said was it cost them a lot more money because they have to have people. Now, you can see down here they have to have people to control the lines. And he told me that it was necessary for him to raise the gasoline prices in order to pay for the extra workers who were taking care of the lines and taking care of security.
This might not be the right weekend to worry about your pocketbook as much, huh?
No, I guess not. I think you're going to have to be very patient.
Now, wait a minute. Costing that much money, if he raises it by 20 cents a gallon, and somebody puts 10 gallons in, that's $2 per car.
I know.
I'm not sure it's going to cost him that much for security. That's opportunistic.
Well, I thought if the security got paid that much, I might see if they could take me on, and because it seems to me it must be a very lucrative job.
Where are the drivers headed? Are some of them headed out of town?
Yeah. How long have you been waiting?
Just a few minutes.
Oh, that's good. Did you have to drive a long way to find a gas station?
I come from Marina del Rey, and it's very hard.
Are you feeling frustrated?
Yes, because I have my car is rented and I have to return it, and so I have to fill up the tank.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
We also ran into one woman who had run out of gas in the line, and she had a terrible problem because, as you know, the restrictions are that gasoline cannot be sold in small containers, which was a way that they were trying to control some of the burning that was going on, that has been going on in the last 48 hours. Her husband came in with a little gas can and said, "Please, my wife is in line and she's out of gas." They didn't sell it to him.
That's it.
Where were some of them headed, Patty? Were some of them headed out of town?
I'm sorry, I didn't...
Where were some of the drivers who were gassing up headed?
Well, you know, I haven't found a single one who lives in this area. Everyone I talk to has driven 10, 15, 20 miles, sometimes more. We talked to people from Watts who had to come all the way over here. We talked to somebody from Baldwin Hills who came over here. Gasoline may not be in your neighborhood.
Oh, okay. It's going to be a long weekend for an awful lot of people, Patty. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break and come back with more right after this.
I don't see the answer to our problem in riots. So my slogan is not burn, baby, burn. My slogan is build, baby, build. Organize, baby, organize. Learn, baby, learn so that you can earn, baby, earn.
There's a Stroud behind Stroud's. At Stroud's, we carry more brand name linens than any other store. We track the trends, both European and domestic, to bring you the newest fashion ideas first.
From the most celebrated French design house, Decamps, a new luxury collection designed for Crocil in 220 thread, 100% cotton. Decamps, for the first time at Stroud's. No one sells linens for less.
No one.
Straight talk. I'm pro-choice and one of the most conservative members of Congress when it comes to spending. Tom Campbell, Republican, U.S. Senate. The way to cut the federal budget deficit is to cut federal government spending. It's not to increase taxes. Most conservative rating, Citizens Against Government Waste. That's why I've never voted for a tax increase. Highest rating, National Taxpayers Union. Where we lower taxes, encourage research and development, and unleash the power of the American worker. Tom Campbell, for choice, for jobs, for U.S. Senate.
The U.S. Postal Service will pick up 1 or 100 or 1,000 priority mail and express mail packages for just $4.50. That's per pickup, not per package. And we'll even pick up heavy ones. You'll get express mail next day and 2-day priority mail delivery at some of the lowest prices around. So call for a pickup. It's like getting a moving van for $4.50.
We deliver for you.
Come into your Southern California Lexus dealer for the perfect financial fit.
If you're feeling the urge to help, you are needed. Relief efforts are already underway, so if you want to get out there to help, one major auto parts chain is already setting up collection centers now. 174 Chief Auto Parts stores in Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties will serve as collection points for donations of blankets and non-perishable food items for Los Angeles Riot victims. If you need some more information, call toll-free 1-800-245-9000. The number again, for what's sure to be one of many collection spots set up to help victims of the riots, is 1-800-245-9000.
You know, the principal image of these riots has been firepower, the firepower that's destroyed literally hundreds of buildings so far, the firepower of the guns on both sides of the law. For a look closer at that, CBS News' Jerry Bowen.
The signature image of the Los Angeles riots is firepower, shotgun-toting police to heavily armed merchants and the weapons against them.
What kind of weapons are against you?
Well, you heard the AK-47 picked off the firemen the first day of this thing, and the AK-47 damn near critically injured, or could have critically injured those policemen, if not killed them outright.
Just this morning, 3 Los Angeles policemen were wounded when a sniper opened fire with an AK-47. The sniper was also shot and captured. For Los Angeles Police Homicide Detective Don Tabak, it was the start of another day in the combat zone.
What can an AK-47 do?
I'm not a gun expert, but I'll tell you, I understand it can go through those car bodies like butter. It can go through a big rig like it's butter. It's a killing weapon. They use them in wars in other countries. So this is turning into a war.
But the main weapon of this war, the real firepower, is fire. Thousands of fires, mostly businesses set by arsonists. And like the case Detective Tabak and his partner were working today, a body found in a burned-out building, fires ignited by gasoline bombs, Molotov cocktails.
You tell it's a body, but you can't tell whether it's male, female, age, nothing. He's kind of curled up in a fetal position underneath the desk.
The owner saw the place burning on TV after you closed it up. Common sense would tell you that possibly, if it's not an employee or somebody else, then it's either a burglar or a looter.
Investigators say the victim may have been caught in a fire of his or her own making. Another arson incident in a city where there have been far too many fires for firefighters to deal with. And even with protection, often too much risk for anyone to remain at a riot scene.
Do you feel in danger? Are you in danger here?
I would imagine the badge is in danger. Yeah, maybe I am.
You look around, these look like the neighbors. This is the neighborhood.
Who's the enemy? You know, they don't wear big things as the enemy. We do. They don't.
This is called the Great Equalizer.
It is out of the sense of fear and frustration that some people are taking matters and weapons into their own hands. Firepower begetting firepower.
You say enough's enough. Well, you do it yourself. It's your city.
This is the first time in my entire life that I've really been scared about protecting my family. And I've had it.
Handle the looters and...
Even with more than 3,000 rioters arrested so far, even with a nighttime curfew in force, smoke is still heavy in the air over this city. For yet another night, the signature image of Los Angeles is firepower. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
A nighttime scene there. A reminder that sundown is just in a few minutes now. The curfew will go into effect at that time. Our Will Spence has been all over the streets of South Central today, and we don't have that right now. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that shortly. Meantime, we can tell you that actress-director Barbra Streisand today made a $50,000 contribution to the first AME church to be used for immediate and also for long-term relief efforts for Los Angeles and its residents. Lee Solters, who is a spokesman for Streisand Foundation, said the actress's contribution was made to the first AME church's Emergency Relief Fund Women's Missionary Society. In a prepared statement, he said Streisand has pledged another $50,000 for relief efforts, but did not specify identify to which group or organization. He could not be reached for further elaboration on that. We can tell you that some, speaking of the First AME Church, some Los Angeles residents are already trying to clean up after the riots. You can join them first thing tomorrow morning if you'd like to. You can go to the First AME Church. We're just talking about their location there at 2270 South Harvard. It's right near Western and Adams in South Central Los Angeles. They're hoping you can show up at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning and bring with you shovels, brooms, trash bags, anything you might have that would help in cleaning up. From the church, folks will be fanning out to the places most in need of cleanup. This is a good, positive effort, positive way to
Barbara
all get back
Streisand,
together.
that's quite a move. Barbara, happy birthday to you. Boy, you know how to do it in style. You make us all proud. Thank you, Barbara. Will Spence has been on the streets of South Central L.A. and files this report from this afternoon.
2, 1. We're at 1091 Hoover, and this is Westlake. We're standing in front of a supermarket that last night they started looting. We've got store employees out here, and as you can see, a lot of these people are armed. This was a situation which was basically contained through most of the difficulty. And of course, yesterday it started. We're talking here with the store manager to basically describe what happened.
We shut the place down. It was out of control. We probably had about 2,000 customers in the store. Violence started breaking out. People wanted to get out, get their goods. And as a result, people started shoplifting, walking out the door without paying for nothing. So we started boarding up the place. Before you know it, there was violence. People started throwing things at the windows.
We got people approaching here, and basically your guys go out to meet them.
Yes.
Not sure whether they're all right.
Yes, well, what we're doing here is making sure that no one comes across the parking lot. All we're basically concerned is the safety of any employees that might be coming by or loyal customers to the store, and making sure that their safety is okay as well. The looters are probably coming out here and they don't care who they hurt and what they go through.
Let's take a look, Dave Bush, our photographer, through this door. The glass has been broken out, but you can see inside that there's a good deal of merchandise that's scattered all over the floor. The aisles are maybe a couple of feet deep with produce and merchandise that it's on the floor. There's water, liquid, puddles of some sort. It is a mess. The shelves are empty. What are you going to do about cleaning this up?
Well, what we're doing is our company is setting up crews right now as of this morning, and we're starting from one store at a time, and we're just going to, you know, get a chain of stores and a group of people, and just going to want to do one store at a time.
What are your thoughts about what's happened here, what you've had to go through?
I think it's crazy. You know, these people are out of control. They don't know what they're doing to the economy. They don't know what they're doing to themselves. There's people that are going to be without food for a while. I mean, it's going to take at least a couple of weeks to get this place back up.
Okay, now, we're in the afternoon at this point. You're going to be here past sundown? Are you going to keep your people here with their weapons?
We're going to be here till about dusk, and then since there is a curfew, I want to make sure, you know, that their safety is also...
Now, what about the chance, you're pretty badly looted in there, but what about the chance of fire?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the sprinkler system on continuously so we can prevent any type of fire that might break out or anything. It's pretty well damped in there now, but we're still going to continue to keep the sprinkler system on so we can prevent any type of fire.
Okay, one last question. A comment about the show of weapons here. It makes a difference?
I think it does. People are staying away. There is some looters that are still coming by wanting to get things, even the debris that's here on the floor. They still want to pick up whatever they can. But seeing the weapons and everything, they're concerned. They don't want to get hurt. And of course, we don't want to hurt anyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're standing in front of a supermarket that has been looted. Store employees are here, and they're standing here with weapons. That is the situation here. I'm Will Spence.
And now, 7:37, sundown, and we have a curfew in effect.
We have passed that. We have a shot from our roof here. We're going to look out. You can see the sun has set fittingly on Sunset Boulevard and all across the Southland. Now, here is the list of cities where the curfew is now in effect. Los Angeles, Hawthorne, Culver City, Inglewood, Linwood, Compton. We can go to the next slide there. Santa Monica, Southgate, Torrance, Long Beach, Signal Hill, Hermosa Beach. Also San Fernando City, Burbank, Maywood, Beverly Hills, Huntington Park, and Pomona. The curfew now in effect in those cities. Everybody ordered off the streets. We'll take a break and come right back.
Shopping for my family means just one thing, decisions. On the one hand, I want quality in everything I buy. On the other hand, I need great value and convenient ways to pay. So I shop at Hughes and get everything I want at the price I need. Like Tillamook cheese, just $1.39. Whiskas or Pedigree pet food, 49 cents. And Foster or Zaki Farms Fryers, 49 cents a pound. There's no place like Hughes. Think they could help me decide what's for dinner?
Californians have bought more Dodge Caravans than MPV and Previa combined. Take the option of a 3.3-liter V6. Of these three, only Caravan has it. A driver's airbag and optional built-in child safety seats, only Caravan offers both. And you can lease Caravan for as low as $199 a month. That's right, as low as $199 a month. No wonder Dodge Caravan is
America's best-selling minivan, Dodge Caravan.
It isn't fair for people who ride in a Jeep to have all the fun. Hey, who said life's fair? Rest stops. Service stations. Better mileage. Try our cars. They're more fun.
All aboard Amtrak.
Now that the curfew is in effect, folks are supposed to stay home, and for senior citizens, that may mean it's more difficult for them to get the meals that they need. On Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the Department of Aging will distribute emergency meals to seniors in areas of the city where normal meal distribution has been disrupted due to civil disturbances. The following senior centers will be open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to distribute emergency meals to seniors. Hollywood Multipurpose Senior Center and Cafeteria at 6501 Fountain Avenue in Hollywood. The Delta Sigma Theta Multipurpose Senior Center at 2528 West Boulevard, and the Galilee Baptist Church at 3220 West 48th Street. 3 locations where meals will be distributed through to senior citizens who are in areas where their usual meal distribution has been disrupted.
A few minutes ago, we showed you a live picture from Shopper 2, a location, a building in Santa Monica. We thought there was a plane had crashed there. We do know for sure there was some sort of explosion. Right now on the ground are Jody Baskerville, and perhaps she can fill us in and give us some new information. Jody?
Okay, Michael, yes, we just arrived a short time ago, but in fact, it was a natural gas explosion. That's what firefighters and investigators on the scene are telling me. Monica, why don't we pan over and give the folks a closer look. You're looking at a used car lot that was the scene of the explosion. There was no fire beforehand, and that's why investigators say they believe it was a natural gas explosion. You're watching firefighters as they are extinguishing any possible blaze or thing like that. Residents here were really startled. They thought it was a plane crash simply because of the way it made the ground shake, and there was a loud, loud noise. Let me speak to Sergeant Brucker over here. Monica, why don't we stay on the scene? And Sergeant, tell me what exactly happened here. We thought at first that it was a plane crash or something like that.
Initially, we had some reports that people thought it was a plane crash because one part of the building resembled a tail assembly of a plane. After that, the fire was extinguished, the fire department went in, and from the force of the explosion, they believe it was probably just a natural gas leak.
Now, so there's no, because of all the trouble we've had, there's no possibility we said anything or any foul play?
No, not at this time. There's a trailer at the back of the lot, and there was no fire prior to the explosion. All the witnesses who were around here said the ground shook violently, so there's no chance of it being a Molotov cocktail or something like that. Just apparently a natural gas leak that exploded in that trailer.
Well, that's a relief, Sergeant. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, Monica, why don't we come over here and we'll talk to some of the neighbors that I was telling you about who were very shaken up by what they heard. Ma'am, you live across the street. Describe what you heard.
I just heard a shake. My husband heard most of it, but I mean, it was just like a boom, and then fire ignite everywhere.
What, how about you?
Yeah, I was laying on the couch at the time it happened, and
glass line. You see the flames coming out the window. I mean, I literally was just looking at the house at the time it happened. Because it used to be a house, now it's a car lot, something like that.
Right, I bet it was scary. Were you scared? I know you heard that sound.
Yeah, I was like shaking and crying because it was like a bomb and it was scary.
Yeah, I bet it was scary. Well, we're happy to report that it doesn't look like there was anything connected with all the problems we've been having these last couple of days. It looks like it was a natural gas explosion. Repeat, it was not a light airplane crash or anything like that. Natural gas explosion. No one was hurt, no one was injured, just some jangled nerves here. Michael Bree?
As you can imagine, there would be jangled nerves after what we've been through in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and a natural gas explosion on its own can be considerably a frightful sight as well. As we've recently seen, boy, it has been a couple of weeks of nothing but breaking news, and natural gas has been in the mix there too. And we thought it might be unlikely here in LA that we'd see something like that. Always a lot of surprises. The streets in Fairfax are also under curfew, and Harvey Levin is standing by there to see how well that's holding. Harvey?
Well, Bree, there's some activity here. We're on La Cienega just north of Pico, and behind me a structure has reignited. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but first let's pan left, Carl. There are people here who are watching the activities, and I'm wondering, folks, the curfew is now in effect. Are your plans to go back home?
Yeah, well, soon we're getting home, you know what I'm saying?
You planning on going back home shortly?
Yeah, in a minute, pretty soon.
You know, the curfew is now in effect.
Not gonna do nothing to us. We're not loading or nothing, you know. We're not taking nothing, so.
You folks live around here?
Yeah, we do.
Cadillac. You live around here? Yeah. You're all gonna go home.
In a minute after, you know.
Okay, you know, it raises the issue exactly when will the police really enforce the curfew down? May I ask, is the sergeant here yet? We'd like to talk to somebody about. I had actually talked to the sergeant a little bit earlier, and I guess the intention here is to really enforce the curfew when it gets dark. Is that right?
Yes. Correct.
So you're giving people a little bit of leeway here until the sun goes down?
Correct.
But you're here for two reasons, I suppose. One, to protect the firemen. I guess the other is now you've got a second job with the curfew.
Correct.
What are we talking, a half hour or so when it becomes...
We're just trying to assess the situation accordingly.
Okay, so the police have said this yesterday, and they're saying it again, that the curfew is going to be enforced with reason. Carl, let's go around here. We're going to walk toward this building because there really is a significant problem in the city now with the reignition of buildings. This is a structure which was pretty much demolished by a fire yesterday, but it went up again, and actually there was a fairly big reignition of this fire about an hour ago, and the fire department came out. They responded to it, and they've just extinguished the blaze. With the number of blazes there have been that we've seen in the city, this is a recurring problem that's really concerning a lot of people. This is Captain Brooks right here, who is in charge of this scene. Captain Brooks, can you tell us how much of a problem the fire department has had with reignitions over the last 24 hours?
Well, almost all of our big buildings have reignited, but they're not really a safety thing. The problem is the buildings have pancaked, leaving hidden spaces, and due to our manpower, we're just going from one fire to the other, and we're starting to come back now and pick up some of these hot spots, but they're no danger to the public.
There are obviously a lot of people who live next door to some of these destroyed structures, who have businesses next door to some of the destroyed structures, who are a little bit worried when they see a reignition. What are they supposed to do?
Well, if they feel it's threatening anything that hasn't burned, definitely call us, and we'll come out, and that's what we've been doing basically today, is putting out these hot spots that may threaten anything that hasn't burned.
But you're saying the probability is that if a structure is destroyed like this structure appears to be, that usually it's not going to pose a danger?
Usually not. This one got going pretty good, so we came back and we put enough manpower into it that hopefully we won't have to come back again.
Hopefully your job will not be further complicated by additional fires, but I suppose there was a time when you really had the added burden of reignitions at the same time you were trying to fight new blazes.
Well, that was definitely true, and what we were doing is just knocking the fire down so they weren't threatening adjoining buildings, and picking up and leaving and going to the next fire.
Which really increases the probability that there will be a reignition.
Definitely, but we didn't leave until it was safe to do so.
Okay, Captain, thank you very much. Again, there are problems with reignitions, but as the captain says, most of them will not threaten other buildings simply because when you look at a building like this, which is pretty much destroyed, there isn't much left to burn, and it usually will not compromise the surrounding structures. It is getting dark here in the city of Los Angeles. The curfew is in effect. The police department, as you just heard, is saying that it will enforce the curfew with reason. It's not going to throw people off the streets immediately, but people should start heading home. And when it does get dark, this curfew is going to be enforced with complete seriousness. And we've been traveling the streets now for 3 or 4 hours, and we've seen plenty of law enforcement out here, from National Guard to Los Angeles Police to other law enforcement, and they are really serious tonight about making sure that people are not on the streets loitering or doing anything else. Reporting live, I'm Harvey Levin. Back to you.
It's that with reason, Harvey, that is a bit ambiguous. Do you get the feeling they're going to arrest anybody they see on the streets tonight, or just those people they think might look somewhat suspicious?
Well, they're telling me that obviously if you have to leave work at 8:30 at night and you're driving from work to home, that they're not going to stop every car. But certainly what they're looking for, what they're trying to isolate, are people who are loitering, people who might be doing something that is against the law.
Okay, Harvey, thank you. Going to go to Pat LaLama now. We've checked in with her a couple of times. Pat, what's the latest where you are?
Well, Mike, just a couple of minutes ago, you know I had to tell you the unfortunate story about 2 young women who were diverted off the 110 because it was closed because of the shooting that had occurred behind me. They were mugged, robbed at gunpoint, and told they would die if they didn't give the people who stopped their car the money. The real issue here, and I'm talking to Sergeant John Fleming of the Los Angeles Police Department, is that there are a lot of people who come down here to take pictures. Is that the truth here in South Central?
Yes, it appears to be a lot today.
What are they doing, basically? What do you observe?
They're coming in to see what is going on and
to document the events, basically? Have you noticed tourists or just people who are just nosy, basically?
People who don't live in the area and don't work in the area.
And that causes a lot of trouble for you, basically.
I've noticed they're frequently becoming victims of crimes.
And that's what concerns you, like what happened to the 2 young ladies tonight?
Their safety concerns me, yes.
So it might be fair to say that the best thing to do is not to... With the case of these 2 women, it wasn't their fault. They were traveling on the 110, and they were forced to get off the freeway. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, it is.
But you're saying you have a number of cases of people who just happen to drive on down to the area just to document the events of the last few days.
That's correct. A lot of people are coming down.
All right, so maybe possibly the best thing to do is don't be a looky-loo. It sounds so trite to say, but as you can see, you can become a victim. It's just easier to stay wherever you are and do something productive.
Okay, something productive. Lots of things are being done that are productive over the weekend. We'll keep you up on top of them. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the Department of Aging will distribute emergency meals to seniors in areas that have been disrupted by civil disobedience. And the Hollywood Multipurpose Senior Center and Cafeteria at 6501 Fountain Avenue in Hollywood is among them, as are Delta Sigma Theta Multipurpose Senior Center at 2528 West Boulevard and the Galilee Baptist Church at 3220 West 48th Street. They'll be open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to get those very important meals to seniors.
And we will take a break and come back.
Oh, the Red Cross hotline. Let's do that, because that's an important number 2 for victims who are fire victims and they may require Red Cross assistance. Call 1-800-540-2000. 1-800-540-2000. You can get more information from the Red Cross if you're a fire victim.
Bree, the International Relief and Development Organization World Vision has created a relief and rehabilitation fund and is accepting donations of food and clothing for victims of the violence that has paralyzed Los Angeles these past couple of nights. Donations to that fund will help meet immediate relief needs and long-term small business and housing rehabilitation in the city. It can be made by calling this telephone number you see on your screen right there, 1-800-423-4200. That number once again for World Vision. If you want to donate something, 1-800-423-4200.
You know, Michael, earlier today we knew that in New York City a lot of people were hearing lots of rumors. Unfortunately, what happens in times like this, people think they hear things that they really don't hear. Rumors get spread, and sometimes that even can ignite some incidences. Let's see now what Ernie Anastas at our sister station WCBS in New York has for us. in the way of information. Is there a development, Ernie?
Hi, Bree and Michael. Yes, so we don't want to blow anything out of proportion here tonight for you, but we do have several incidents of violence to report in New York. There is a gang of at least 100 protesters. They're marching around Greenwich Village, and we have reports that they have been smashing windows down in that area. There is another gang of protesters who have been rowdy. That is at Tompkins Square Park in Greenwich Village, and police are trying to keep those two groups apart, hoping to avoid any kind of trouble. Now, we also have a report of a large gang of loud protesters in New Rochelle. New Rochelle is a suburb just north of New York City. They're also involved in some window smashing. But in the most violent incident that we have, two men were dragged from a car at 7th Avenue and 125th Street. At least one of the men reportedly was stabbed. That is the worst incident that we can report to you tonight. At the same time, let's tell you that there have been some very peaceful protests in New York City all day long. There was a rally at New York City and also at Times Square. Those were peaceful. We also have to report to you today that there was a lot of concern for violence. You mentioned, Bree, the rumors that were roaming around New York City today. Many of the businesses chose to shut down early. There was a very early rush hour here in New York. Many people decided to go home and try to spend a very quiet weekend there. In addition, our mayor, Mayor David Dinkins, has had a busy day. He met with a number of leaders, community leaders, clergymen in the New York City area. There were about 200 people that met at City Hall. He called for peace. He called for a calm, and he appealed to the young people, particularly in this city. He began very early, and he'll be on our air in about another 15 minutes from now, and I think that he is encouraged, hopefully, that the statement that we heard today from Rodney King, that emotional statement, a call for peace and calm, will take hold, as well as the president's message tonight. Hopefully this will be a calm weekend here. We've had some reports of scattered violence, as I've just told you, but for the most part they've been characterized as rowdy and really not violent. That's about all I can tell you at this point from New York, Michael and Bree.
All right, Ernie, I know that Mayor Dinkins really has his hands full. All of you in New York City are also suffering a lot of budget cuts, and unfortunately that means that even things like street lights aren't as numerous and available to be powered up when they need to be as they used to be. That could be a problem, couldn't it?
It could be, yes. I think that the mayor has assured us, though, that they're trying to make every effort possible here to make sure that things are under control. I think that they've asked for people within the city to cooperate as much as possible. I don't think that I don't like to start anything, but I think that there is a good mood, if you will, in this city overall, and I think the mayor has expressed that. He also complimented the media today for trying to maintain that type of calming effect on viewers. I think that what we say and what we do has an incredible influence, and I think that we all have to be very careful and very responsible in how we report these incidents.
Yeah, we're trying. There's a peaceful protest.
As you're speaking right there, Ernie, we're looking at that peaceful protest today. Any more demonstrations or protests scheduled for tomorrow that you know of?
No, not that we know of. We will be talking with the mayor shortly and trying to find out if there will be anything planned, but not specifically. We don't have any word right now of any specific rally that is scheduled.
Ernie, it's worth pointing out that in New Rochelle, that is a suburb made up primarily of African Americans, and yes, that's a peaceful protest up there.
Yes, as I mentioned, all we have at this point is a rowdy group, a loud group of people who are running around, and there have been some window smashing incidents reported, but that's the extent of it.
All
Ernie,
right,
thank you very much for that. We're going to go away right now. We'll come back with cut-ins as warranted. See you on Action News at 11 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.
Los Angeles holds its breath as a shaken Rodney King appeals to the nation.
People, I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along? It's not going to change anything. Behind your head. We've got to quit. We've got to quit.
We want to send a message to this community. The hoodlums out there are not going to be able to terrorize this city.
Today in Los Angeles,
hundreds of people from all over the community are coming out with brooms in their hands.
Calmer tempers lead to cleanup as the National Guard finally sweeps in.
They will return fire. They will protect innocent bystanders.
Go! Go! Go!
But the anger has thundered across the country.
There's a revolution going on. Just chill, y'all, chill.
In San Francisco, in Atlanta, and even as far as New York.
It is clear that a dangerous and difficult situation remains.
Right over here. See that fire over there?
Tonight, CBS News takes you beyond the rage.
These guys are local guys. They live here, and they're helping us with the fire.
The heroes, the cops.
So this is turning into a war. You know, and it's eerie. In 20 years, I've never seen like anything like this.
The victims. The future.
We're all human beings, and we need to be treated like human beings, and they definitely were not treating him like a human being.
And Los Angeles waits in the eye of the storm.
Look at what they're doing. They destroyed in the whole city. They destroyed in America.
This is a CBS News special report. Beyond the Rage. From CBS News headquarters in New York, here is Dan Rather.
Good evening. Tonight, Los Angeles and our country may be at a turning point. 2 days after the Rodney King verdict, 2 days after emotions erupted in the streets, there are signs the city and the nation are struggling to reach beyond the rage. President Bush spoke to the nation about an hour ago. He has now federalized the California State National Guard, already on duty in Los Angeles, and he has ordered thousands of regular Army troops, U.S. Marines, and additional federal officers to stand by in and around the city if they are needed. The Justice Department announced late today that it will finally open a grand jury investigation into the beating to determine if there is a federal civil rights case to be made over Rodney King's beating. And for the first time since the verdict, the world heard from Rodney King himself. We're all used to reading and hearing and seeing news and headlines and sound bites, but tonight we wanted you to hear everything that Rodney King had to say as he issued a plea for peace.
I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids? And I mean, we've got enough smog here in Los Angeles, let alone to deal with the setting these fires and things. It's just not right. It's not right, and it's not gonna change anything. We'll get our justice. They've won the battle, but they haven't won the war. We'll have our day in court, and that's all we want. And just I love, you know, I'm neutral. I love people of color. You know, I'm not like they picking me out to be. We've got to quit. We've got to quit. You know, after all, I mean, I can understand the first upset for the first 2 hours after the verdict, but to keep going on like this, and to see the security guard shot on the ground, it's just not right. It's just not right, because those people will never go home to their families again. And I mean, please, we can get along here. We all can get along. We just gotta, you know. I mean, we're all stuck here for a while. Let's try to work it out. Let's try to beat it. You know, let's try and work it out.
Rodney King. For the latest, we go to correspondent Richard Roth, standing by live in Los Angeles. Richard?
Dan, today the worst of the rioting did seem to be over, but security on the streets here is a sometimes affair. There were shots today between police and a gunman carrying an automatic rifle. There was more looting. There have been new fires deliberately set. 1,000 federal law enforcement agents are already at work here, and now 4,500 federal troops are on the way. Rush hour in Los Angeles never happened today. In daylight, the smoke from overnight fires was a shroud over neighborhoods blackened by arson. But new fires today were fewer. Authorities said the nighttime curfew had some success curtailing the violence. National Guard troops deployed yesterday were put to work protecting property. But in places where soldiers and police had come too late or not at all, in daylight today, there was despair.
I don't understand this. I mean, this is unbelievable. Inhumane things happen.
This owner of this store, Buddy and Betty, they are good people. They have been good to my mother and my father. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Just forget it.
Authorities put the casualty count at 38 dead, more than 1,400 injured. More than 4,000 people have been arrested, and early estimates of property damage topped $200 million. The governor called it terrorism and mobilized 2,000 more National Guard troops.
We are taking no chance. We intend to have not just a show of strength, but actual strength.
There's worry now that disabled public services will put a new strain on tempers just barely under control. With mail delivery suspended in the riot area, crowds came to a post office to collect welfare and Social Security checks. Postal officials said it made the best of a bad situation. A long wait in line, better than a weekend without cash. But banks were also jammed, as were food stores that hadn't been looted. There are neighborhoods without electric power and public transit. In short, the aftermath of violence has become a new challenge to discipline.
So we got to go out and, ask people to now start rebuilding.
Magic Johnson today was among those responding to a call for LA's Famous to start a chorus for urban peace.
We here join our community leaders who are asking for peace on the streets, calm in our neighborhoods, and an all-out citywide effort to heal and rebuild Los Angeles and the United States.
Meantime, the curfew that helped make things quieter on the streets here last night just went back into effect tonight. Dan?
What had been a Los Angeles story, of course, has now become a story in some other cities across the country. For more about that, CBS News correspondent Connie Chung joins us. Connie?
Dan, it did not take long for the fire of rage that engulfed Los Angeles to spread to other cities. In New York City tonight, demonstrators who were part of a peaceful demonstration earlier in Times Square clashed with police in a number of locations, including Penn Station, a busy commuter center, and Madison Square Garden. There were at least 20 arrests. Massive traffic jams developed as commuters tried to escape the city before the unrest began. In San Francisco, 1,500 people were arrested after a night of looting and violence.
Man, people don't realize that down here, there's a revolution going on. Black people are taking this stuff too long.
Tonight, a state of emergency is in effect, and the mayor has imposed a curfew for a second night in an effort to prevent more trouble. In Seattle, mobs of young people roamed the downtown area, smashing windows and taunting police. It's reported to continue tonight. More than 40 people were arrested. Scuffles broke out between blacks and whites around Atlanta. Scores of fires were set, and at least 26 hurt, 300 arrested. To many veteran observers, none of this came as a surprise.
Most cities, there's some problem between the inner city and the police, charges of police brutality or police abuse. You have the same problems with unemployment, crime, violence. You have that all over America.
Not only me, but a whole lot of black folks think that we're never going to get justice in this country, that there's two standards. There's definitely two standards in the judicial system here.
In Detroit, Tampa, and Toledo, there were scattered incidents of violence. But in some of the country's largest cities, the demonstrations were surprisingly peaceful. In Philadelphia, students demonstrated and marched, but efforts to provoke police failed. And some black leaders do not expect any of these cities will see a repeat of the riots of the 1960s.
We not only have black mayors, we have black policemen. In the late 60s and 70s, the cities were patrolled by white cops, essentially.
In looted and bruised cities of this nation, cleanup efforts began today, but the real healing is yet to come.
When this is over, and it will be over someday, we're going to have to live, and we're going to have to work together, and we're going to have to pull together. And the longer this violence goes on, the longer this hatred and distrust goes on, the more difficult or impossible the healing process will be.
That healing process needs to extend across the nation because today's trouble occurred in seemingly unlikely cities. Las Vegas, where at least one death was reported. Omaha, Nebraska. Boulder, Colorado. Gary, Indiana. Beloit, Wisconsin. The result? Deaths, injuries, arrests, and millions of dollars in property damage. Dan?
Thanks, Connie. President Bush spoke to the nation about 2 hours ago. Susan Spencer reports about that.
Mr. Bush left for Camp David tonight after a 10-minute televised address in which he stressed both sympathy for LA's victims and determination to restore order.
After peace is restored to Los Angeles, we must then turn again to the underlying causes of such tragic events. We must keep on working to create a climate of understanding and tolerance.
The president implied that he disagreed with the King verdict. Earlier today, Mr. Bush spent an intense hour with civil rights leaders who urged him to take immediate action on the country's social problems.
But don't put it all on criminal elements. Some people have just fed up. Across this nation, black people are crying out for justice.
And we hope that he recognizes that the temperature is at the boiling point, not only in Los Angeles, but it's right at the boiling point in a number of other communities.
Mr. Bush told those civil rights leaders that he is frustrated, that no matter what he says or does about this in this election year will be viewed as political. He is, of course, right. The judgment after tonight's speech will be whether the president is demonstrating the kind of leadership that this situation demands. Susan Spencer, CBS News, the White House.
Just who are the victims of violence? CBS News correspondent John Blackstone reports on that.
3 days of disorder have left at least 37 people dead, more now than died in the Watts riots of 1965. Some of the first victims were white motorists caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. But as the authorities begin to take back the streets, more and more of the dead are black, many dying in encounters with police. At least 1,300 people have been injured, a situation threatening to overwhelm hospital emergency rooms. But the wounds of the violence here are not just physical. On one city block, the hopes and dreams that are so much a part of American life have been destroyed.
That was all my savings. All my life is gone. This is it. I have to start all over again.
Ramin Brukin immigrated here from Iran 6 years ago. With his brother Kambiz, he opened an electronics store.
This was full of games. On the left side, we have all kinds of stereos.
They were on their way up until yesterday.
What's going to happen here? What am I supposed to do as an owner? What am I supposed to do with my employees? Is there anybody here to give me a phone number which is not busy?
What happened here had nothing to do with race. In this one block is the Los Angeles Melting Pot, the electronics store owned by Iranian immigrants, Lupita Bakery, Hispanic, a black-run bookstore, and down at the end, a furniture shop owned by Koreans. This was a pretty dangerous neighborhood you decided to set up business in originally, though, wasn't it?
No, not really. Not really. People are decent. We all help each other, They are decent people.
But just before midnight last night, someone smashed through the doors and emptied the Lee family's furniture store.
They're stealing, looting, and the shooting. This is not the USA. We can make this society a lot better.
Most of the rest of this block of Pico Boulevard near downtown Los Angeles had already been torched. The bookstore wasn't looted, but it burned down when someone set fire to the shoe store beside it. Ellie Green was the manager.
They weren't interested in stealing the works of Malcolm X or Carlos Fonseca or the FMLN. They were interested in stealing some shoes. This is against us. Our conditions of life are now going to be, quantitatively different. Community destroyed. Communities destroyed.
The bakery is a loss for everyone in the community. People came from miles around to buy bread and cakes here. It provided jobs for 40 people. Until yesterday, Jose Aguirre worked here decorating cakes.
And when you look in the window,
and see a cake that you decorated to give hope and joy to people?
Yeah. I work for the people, you know, for his parties, for his birthdays, for his weddings. I work. And now, I'm gonna look for something else.
Citywide, damage totals may be counted in the hundreds of millions of dollars. But that doesn't measure much of what was lost in one block of Eco Boulevard. So many hopes and dreams and ambitions. John Blackstone, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Families across America are finding it harder and harder to stick together, and that's particularly true for African-American families. We'll take a closer look when we return, so stay with us.
Brand Central, you can always count on quality, great prices, and people like me. I'm Mike Foster, and right now, our once-a-year Carnival Values event means great savings on hundreds of items.
For example, get this RCA 20-inch color TV with remote, just $279.88. Or get a Kenmore 3-shelf upright freezer or a chest freezer with lift-out basket, just $279.99 each.
And there's much more, so don't miss this once-a-year event at Sears Brand Central now.
Trouble with heartburn? Well, you could change your diet. Or change your job. Maybe change your lifestyle. Or better still, reach for Rolaids. It works fast to absorb excess stomach acid and bring 100% relief to millions. So maybe you can't change your life, but you can get relief with Rolaids. Rolaids spells relief.
You've accepted that man has touched the surface of the moon. Now, are you brave enough to let your mind venture one step further? Have you asked yourself the ultimate questions? Why are we here? Where are we going? And are we alone? What if it all came down to one simple answer, and it was right in front of your face? Intruders, they are among us, and on May 17th, you will believe.
A year ago, we Americans were cheering the troops on their Desert Storm victory. Those American soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, and Coast Guardmen, you will recall, were black and white and Hispanic and Asian and from many other ethnic backgrounds. A true people's army, the U.S. Army, a proud patchwork of races that makes up this country. There was a rare unity in the U.S. then, but Randall Pinkston takes a look behind that moment to what everyday life is for most black families in America.
"10:35 this morning, a baby boy greeted the world at Washington's Greater Southeast Community Hospital. He was born a healthy 6 pounds, 10 ounces to loving, successful parents. But for most black male babies, the deck is stacked against them from day one. Black males are twice as likely as whites to die as infants. Blacks are twice as likely to live in poverty. Black children are 3 times as likely to live in a single-parent household, probably headed by the mother. Javon Edwards is one of those children. His mother, Annette, is a single parent with 4 children. She is divorced, depending on public assistance for support. While hopeful, she knows what her son faces.
Chances of not being able to find a productive job because of the lack of education, fairly high. How you gonna, what are you gonna do?
Just hope and you don't turn out for the worst. That's all.
In a real sense, much of what happens to her and her children is out of her control.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to say they not going to get in trouble or nothing like that. But I'm just praying that, I'm praying for their life, their future.
The future for many black children means unemployment. Twice as many black males are jobless as whites. Ronald Harrison grew up in the same housing development where little Javon lives now. He has children of his own and remembers the temptation of taking the easy way out of joblessness.
You must have been pretty depressed about that.
It was hard to keep straight.
You mean not get into trouble to make money to feed your family?
Right. Hard not to just say, well, I'm just going to make me some money any way I can.
Most black men, like a street vendor named Bill we met in downtown Washington, beat the odds and find work and find a way to stay out of trouble. They understand and share the anger and frustration against a criminal justice system that does not seem to provide equal results. But Bill thinks the violence in Los Angeles may result in stacking the deck even higher against blacks.
No, I don't believe in rioting. I don't believe violence solves anything. It just makes it worse. I believe a lot of blacks through this riot will lose even more jobs, and people won't even won't have them further. They'll be afraid of them.
And anyone who wants to reinforce the fear can point to the fact that 1 in 5 black men in their 20s is either in prison, on probation, or on parole. But the Rodney King beating and verdict seem to reinforce a feeling among blacks that the system views black life as worthless. A message this brand new black child may have to live with all the days of his life. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Washington.
In his moving statement late today, Rodney King appealed to everyone to stop the violence, and he was mindful of the impact on a special group. He said, and I quote, "People, can we all get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids?" The kids, the future. Terry Smith, my colleague from CBS This Morning, talked to the kids in one New York City school today as they returned from a rally.
Everybody. We have to stop the police brutality. But them cops will beat us if they feel like they want to. It will not deter them. If they feel like they can beat me, they will.
What's going on in school right now? What are teachers saying? What's going on in your classes?
They told us to get out. There was a walkout, and what happened was half the school walked out. The point is that what happened with Rodney King, it doesn't make no sense to me. They treating black people like we're dogs, you know? Like we can't get nowhere. And we are angry. And we are sick of being treated like that. Because it's not just LA, it's New York, it's Chicago, it's Detroit. It's everywhere. Those people in LA, they're sick of that now, and they want to act out how they feel. And it's a shame that they don't know anything better than violence. But then it's also a shame that our justice system is rigged so that it's a double standard for African Americans.
Do you think there's a double standard? Do you think there's a standard of justice for black people, a standard of justice for white people? There is a double, you think it's a double standard?
Yes, if it was black cops that were beating on a Caucasian man, they all would have been guilty. Yes. They would have been.
Some people have suggested that this should be a wake-up call for America, for white America, for black America, for brown America, yellow America, whatever.
We as a people can only be tolerant for so long. And injustice after injustice is hard for us to tolerate. And if it hits here, everybody better wake up. Because once it hits New York, everything's going to be over.
Let me ask another question. Is anybody here, do you think that the violence is justified? People have been saying, decrying the violence and saying, this is bad, you're only hurting yourself. What's your own reaction?
We're only hurting ourselves because people don't realize that violence is not going to get us anywhere. We will still be in the same place that we were from the beginning.
You know, I want something positive, but how can you tell somebody who's lived in a negative environment all their life to turn to something positive and go and march and not loot their own neighborhoods because they feel that they're worth nothing. Right. And they're told by the system that they're worth nothing.
Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future? This whole tinderbox of feelings that's erupting now.
To tell you the truth,
is it going to be better 5 years from now?
Maybe. Okay, it depends on what we do.
This is our town, and we got to make a difference, and we got to make this town as good as we can. And if you let things like that happen here, then this town's going to go all the way down the drain. We're already going down the drain. We need to pull ourselves back out. We need to give peace a chance.
Yes.
What's up, Joe?
Coming up next, what about the police? Good cops everywhere, trying to do a good job. The view from behind the badge, how the verdict and its aftermath has affected some police officers.
Now it's a lonesome old world when you have to fight it all alone.
At Maytag, we still build them to last longer and need fewer repairs.
And it's twice as hard to take when I'm sitting there all alone.
Maytag.
All alone.
The dependability people.
Mercury Sable continues to distinguish itself as a leader in automotive design. This year, we redesigned the exterior, the interior, the instrument panel, and equipped it with dual airbags, a feature not offered by any other manufacturer in this class. Other than that, we've pretty much left it alone. All this and the quality of the Mercury.
When you want a hot meal without a big deal, what are you gonna pick? Hot Pockets!
Hot Pockets, filled with pepperoni pizza or ham and cheese in a crispy pocket. Try Lean Pockets, too.
What are you gonna pick? Hot Pockets.
Put the power of an upright in the palm of your hand with the Royal Dirt Devil. It has a revolving brush, and it can handle all kinds of dirt. Pick up the handheld vac that really picks up. Dirt Devil by Royal.
Live from Bangkok, we welcome you all. It's an evening of international glamour as over 70 of the most beautiful women in the world take part in the competition of a lifetime.
I have a funny feeling I'm going to be a little busy tonight.
Experience the excitement.
Wow, I figure if we're going to introduce 73 ladies to 600 million people, I think we better get on with it.
The incredible pageantry and the suspense. Join your hosts Dick Clark and Lisa Gibbons and find out who will win the 1992 Miss Universe pageant next Friday at 9.
This is the house where doctors make their last house call. A house with a dark secret. Dick Van Dyke dares to solve the mystery of the house on Sycamore Street tonight. One woman celebrating a new family, another fighting for her marriage.
Filed for divorce.
I'm pregnant.
She created a lie she couldn't live up to, a lie that turned to kidnapping.
She just took her. Don't you want to see your baby girl?
And an innocent mother would be accused.
What did you do with the baby?
Veronica Hamill, Nancy McKeon, Baby Snatcher, Sunday. Intruders, beginning May 17th, you will believe.
You've probably heard about it. It isn't written down anywhere, though, but there is a strict code among police officers because of their belief that they and only they know what it's really like out there when you're dressed in blue. It's a code of silence. One cop just doesn't tell on another cop no matter what. But the Rodney King affair may be changing that. 48 Hours correspondent Harold Dow reports from the streets of Newark, New Jersey.
July 1967, Newark, New Jersey. The riots left 26 dead, $10 million in property damage. 25 years ago, Sergeant Ronald Parham wasn't on the force yet, but he, like other citizens of this community, remember the death and the damage left behind.
At one time, you had a major supermarket on this corner. This is also the area where back in 1967, you had the riots. You were standing basically in the heart of the riot area. And on some of the footage from 1967, you will actually see these buildings being shot at and the bullets ricocheting off the building.
So when you look at what's going on in Los Angeles, when you saw the reaction from the verdict, when you actually saw the beating footage itself, what thoughts went through your mind?
Well, I was appalled. I, as a person first, looked at the film and said that this is unnecessary. As a police officer, I'm feeling another way. I'm saying, here is something that could ruin the reputation and credibility of all police officers.
Events in Los Angeles do seem far away from today's Newark. Most of this city's scars have healed. Still, there was no code of silence among Newark police officers. There was a petition to protest both the beating and the verdict. The men and women in blue didn't hesitate to sign their names and speak their minds.
You see something like that, how can you find I'm not guilty? No need for that. Sometimes you have to use force, you use what you have to use, and that's about it, but you don't go that far.
This is just one isolated incident, and all police officers aren't like that.
William Sylvester, Newark Police Director. If the beating would have occurred under your command, by some officers under your command, what would your reaction have been? What would you have done?
I would have been arrested.
In 1967, about 15% of Newark's police department was black. Today, that number has more than doubled. Some things have changed, some things have not.
We've lived through a riot. We have a PhD in rioting.
Sharp James is the mayor of Newark. When you see what's going on in Los Angeles and in other cities across this country, what thoughts go through your mind?
To see buildings being burned and looting, we know from our prior experience here in the city of Newark that those buildings will not be replaced in years to come, decades. We still have those scars. We still have the poor image from the rioting of '67. It takes decades to even bring grass up in those lots again.
The underlying problems, says Mayor James, were never solved.
And until this country recognizes that racism is as healthy and alive and well, it is fundamental as motherhood and apple pie in America, we'll never address it, we'll never cure it.
A special commission looking into the '60s riots summed it up this way.
This is where we are today, black and white, suburban and urban, rich and poor, fighting one another, and it's a shame of America.
Tragically, these words from 25 years ago apply today. Some things have changed, some things have not. Dan, what has changed is that some police officers are now speaking out against their own. They're putting it on the record that there are indeed some police actions that they simply will not support.
Harold down. Thanks. A police officer has an altercation with a citizen. The community explodes. It's not Los Angeles today, but the Miami area a few years back, and there are lessons there to be learned. Juan Vasquez reports.
During the 1980s, Miami was the nation's flashpoint for urban rioting. Here, the Rodney King scenario is all too familiar. The first time it happened, a group of white policemen stopped a black businessman named Arthur McDuffie, who was riding a motorcycle. Police said he resisted arrest, and McDuffie was beaten to death with flashlights. The police were charged with murder and manslaughter, but the trial was moved to another city. When they were acquitted, Miami exploded. The first riots left 18 dead, but there would be more. At least 3 more times during the 80s, police shootings and beatings of black and Puerto Rican victims sparked riots. Liberty City, Miami's black ghetto, earned a place in the headlines and in the history books as the site of repeated riots. Miami was a city full of racial anger and frustration.
I used to hear police officers talking to each other about an NHI. And one day I became lawyer for the Metro-Dade Police Department, and they finally clued me in that when a black person is a victim of a crime, they call it NHI because there's no human involved.
Eventually, slowly, changes came, starting with the naming of a black police chief. Calvin Ross is the 3rd consecutive black to head the department. City police today undergo sensitivity training. The city has started to require that an officer live in the area he patrols, and it uses so-called salt and pepper patrols that combine officers of different ethnic backgrounds. Miami Mayor Xavier Suarez says you get points just for trying.
From my own experience and in my own situations, the one thing that I can say that helps a lot is to be out there. You know, just go out in the community and talk to people.
Today, the city is quick to respond to black complaints that once would have gone unheeded.
We are just one chokehold away from being L.A. today.
When black leaders complained to the city council yesterday about the use of a police chokehold that has left a black man comatose, the council immediately ordered a temporary halt to the use of the controversial tactic. Black leaders say the riots have taught everyone some hard lessons.
Black Miami has matured to understand riots destroy our communities, kill us, put us in jail, have our insurance rates go sky high. We have no more political power than we had before, no more economic power before.
But racial tensions haven't disappeared. Liberty City suffers from all the woes that afflict black America. Poverty, unemployment, drug use, the lack of political power. And later this year, Miami could face another racial test. 3 years ago, on the eve of the Super Bowl in Miami, police officer William Lozano shot and killed a black motorcyclist who was being chased for a traffic violation. That touched off yet another riot. The accused officer was tried in Miami and convicted. But after an appeal, the court ordered a new trial in a different city because of the emotional atmosphere in Miami. Black leaders fear what might happen if he's acquitted the second time around. That's when they'll find out how much Miami has changed, how much Miami has learned. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Miami.
Who and what turned Los Angeles into a free fire zone, wrecking a great city and its reputation? When we return.
Why are these people smiling? They've got new Paladin for partials with the power to clean the pearly part and the metal part. And the best part, it only takes 5 minutes. So get new Paladin for partials, unless you're already too good looking as it is.
I try to ignore my sensitive teeth, but they hurt.
Don't ignore your sensitive teeth. Sensodyne helps stop the pain that can make you stop brushing. Could lead even to tooth loss.
Thanks, Sensodyne.
Sensodyne helps stop the pain and the domino effect.
Hi, I'm Barbara Lawler of Sears Brand Central, and right now count on great prices on top brands during our once-a-year Carnival of Values.
Count on hundreds of items, like a Eureka, Hoover, or Kenmore vacuum. Your choice, just $89.88. Or save $50 on America's best dishwashing system, the Kenmore Ultra Wash 2. Or get this AT&T cordless phone for just $69.99. And there's much more.
So come into Sears Brand Central. You can count on great values, and you can count on me.
Beyond the Range will continue. You didn't know you owned an airline, did you? You not only own the planes, you pay for the gas every time some bureaucrat wants to go somewhere. 60 Minutes, Sunday.
Are you an easy target for a scam? A con artist could be after your money.
Slim slam, dollar slim slam.
The people saying these things to you are con men. They're very, very good at what they do.
What can you do to stop them from ripping you off? Watch Scam on 48 Hours, Wednesday at 10, 9 Central.
This is CBS.
My kids are screaming and crying because they don't understand this.
I understand people's anger. I'm angry, too, about the verdict. But you just can't be hurting innocent people.
Oh, they're shooting at us, and we're trying to do the work down here.
It's stupid. It's silly, man. It ain't happening any.
Stay with Channel 2 Action News as we take you into the community where residents struggle to restore safety in hopes that reason and reform will prevail.
We need to stop this violence. We need to stop it right away.
Californians have bought more Dodge Caravans than MPV and Previa combined. Take the option of a 3.3-liter V6. Of these three, only Caravan has it. A driver's airbag and optional built-in child safety seats, only Caravan offers both. And Caravan models start in California thousands less than Previa and MPV. And now with 1,000 cash back, it's no wonder Chrysler makes California's best-selling minivans.
Batman, the movie, tomorrow at 8 on Channel 2.
Some parts of Los Angeles have been called a war zone, deadly and dangerous. And part of the reason is that there are so many guns with so much firepower out there. Correspondent Jerry Bowen reports.
The signature image of the Los Angeles riots is firepower, shotgun-toting police to heavily armed merchants and the weapons against them.
What kind of weapons are against you?
Well, you heard the AK-47 picked off the firemen the first day of this thing, and the AK-47 damn near critically injured or could have critically injured those policemen if not killed them outright.
Just this morning, 3 Los Angeles policemen were wounded when a sniper opened fire with an AK-47. The sniper was also shot and captured. For Los Angeles Police Homicide Detective Don Tabak, it was the start of another day in the combat zone.
What can an AK-47 do? I'm not a gun expert, but I'll tell you, I understand it can go through those car bodies like butter. It can go through a big rig like it's butter. It's a killing weapon. They use them in wars in other countries. So this is turning into a war.
But the main weapon of this war, the real firepower, is fire. Thousands of fires, mostly businesses set by arsonists. And like the case Detective Tabak and his partner were working today, a body found in a burned-out building, fires ignited by gasoline bombs, Molotov cocktails.
You tell it's a body, but you can't tell whether it's male, female, age, nothing. He's
kind of curled up in a fetal position underneath the desk.
The owner saw the place burning on TV after you closed it up. Common sense would tell you that possibly, if it's not an employee or somebody else, then it's either a burglar or a looter.
Investigators say the victim may have been caught in a fire of his or her own making. Another arson incident in a city where there have been far too many fires for firefighters to deal with. And even with protection, often too much risk for anyone to remain at a riot scene. Do you feel in danger? Are you in danger here?
I would imagine the badge is in danger. You know, yeah, maybe I am.
If you look around, these look like the neighbors. This is the neighbor.
Who's the enemy? You know, they don't wear big things as the enemy. We do, you know, but they don't.
This is called the Great Equalizer.
It is out of the sense of fear and frustration that some people are taking matters and weapons into their own hands. Firepower begetting firepower.
You say enough's enough. Well, you do it yourself. It's your city.
This is the first time in my entire life that I've really been scared about protecting my family. And I've had it.
Handle the looters and...
Even with more than 3,000 rioters arrested so far, even with a nighttime curfew in force, smoke is still heavy in the air over this city. For yet another night, the signature image of Los Angeles is firepower. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
What can be done to bridge the racial divide in this country? We'll talk about that when we come back.
My mother and I went to lunch. When I opened my purse to pretend like I might pay the check, a roll of certs tumbled out. "Who is he?" she asked. I said, "Mother. I don't have to be romantically involved with a man to use certs. I just want fresh, clean breath." "Good," she said. "He didn't look right for you anyway."
Get Certs with Retsin to clean your breath, not just cover it up.
Certs is proud to be a presenter of Comic Relief 5. Watch for it soon on HBO.
When you want a hot meal without a big deal, what are you gonna pick? Hot Pockets!
Hot Pockets, filled with pepperoni pizza or ham and cheese in a crispy pocket. Try Lean Pockets, too.
What are you gonna pick? Hot Pockets.
Oh, my favorite shirt. It's my brother's fault. It collects so much dirt.
Oily, icky stains, well, well, well. Mama lifts them out with A-L-L stain lifter.
That's all.
From Washington comes important news for anyone suffering from eczema, psoriasis, or other skin itches and rashes. The government has just approved for sale without prescription extra strength medicine doctors prescribe for these problems. It's a new Cortisone 10, the maximum strength you can buy to relieve irritating itching and rash. Why suffer when now you can get the strong relief you need? Get Cortisone 10 with doctor-prescribed relief for itch and rash, now available without prescription.
Live from Bangkok, we welcome you all. It's an evening of international glamour as over 70 of the most beautiful women in the world take part in the competition of a lifetime.
I have a funny feeling I'm going to be a little busy tonight.
Experience the excitement.
Wow, I figured if we're going to introduce 73 ladies to 600 million people, I think we better get on with it.
The incredible pageantry and the suspense. Join your hosts Dick Clark and Lisa Gibbons and find out who will win the 1992 Miss Universe pageant next Friday at 9.
This is the house where doctors make their last house call. A house with a dark secret. Dick Van Dyke dares to solve the mystery of the house on Sycamore Street tonight. Sunday, a novelist is haunted.
Did you see her? Did you see her?
Who?
By the death of his wife. Was it suicide?
Someone was trying to give us the most awful fright.
On Murder, She Wrote. Then, a woman desperate to save her marriage.
I'm pregnant.
Kidnaps another woman's child for her own.
She just took her.
Veronica Hamill, Nancy McKeon, Baby Snatcher, Sunday.
Many people say the Rodney King verdict was merely a flashpoint for a much greater underlying trouble in our beloved United States of America. We've assembled a panel of thoughtful people to take a look at what's behind the rage and possibly what can be done about the problems. Professor Shelby Steele of San Jose State University joins us from Monterey, California. United States Representative Congressman John Lewis at our New Orleans affiliate, WWL. D.C. Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton of Washington, D.C. and Georgetown University, and United States Senator John Kerry of Massachusetts. Thank you all for joining us. we want to talk about, we want to focus on what can be done. Senator Kerry, you made a speech in which you said, listen, in effect, we may not want to look at these problems, we've got to look at these problems. You and Senator Bradley were singled out by the Washington Post, for example, as those who at least had the courage and the foresight to stand up and say so. But where can we go from here?
Well, Dan, the first thing we have to do is lay it on the table and talk about it and be honest about it. Break down the barriers that have allowed stereotypes to dominate the discussion and that have really made politicians and other thoughtful people almost reluctant to bring the subject up in public. Now, regrettably, as a result of the last 2 days, it has been forced upon us in a context that none of us would have wished. But we need to first talk about it. Secondly, we have to face up to a number of demands. One, the admissions with respect to racism in this country. Two, not to pander to certain interest groups that have a huge stake in continuing the status quo in certain areas. And number three, we absolutely, once and for all, have got to make real the national agenda with respect to our cities. They have been abandoned, and that is a huge portion of what we are inheriting in the rage, the wrath, the sheer panic of the last few days.
Eleanor Holmes Norton, you heard that. Can any politician in this country survive running on that kind of platform, or is that politician going to get killed at the polls by somebody who runs a racially motivated campaign against them?
I tell you, for the last dozen years, with barrages of code words from the top, many politicians have felt that they were better off if they said little or nothing about race and did even less. And you reap the whirlwind when you take a problem that's been with our country since its beginning, that's 400 years old, and say 40 years has been enough, we've done all we need to do, with structural poverty still left for large numbers of blacks, and with large cities completely unattended for a dozen years. And that's what's happened. In the beginning of the Reagan administration, they repealed revenue sharing, and yet the big cities have seen problems of the kind they never have had before. Epidemics of AIDS, drive-by shootings, a whole generation that has been brought up believing that they simply weren't on the national agenda. Got to put them back on, quick.
Congressman, you were there in the front ranks with Dr. Martin Luther King when he was trying to push awareness of civil rights difficulties right to the very forefront. What can be done now? What should be done now, today, tonight, or at the very latest beginning tomorrow?
Well, we must first move beyond the rage. We must move beyond chaos and toward community. My suggestion to the White House and to people in Washington was for the President of the United States to go to Los Angeles, to meet with Mayor Bradley, to meet with Governor Wilson, and speak to the nation from Los Angeles. Be able to dramatize to the American people that this president is sensitive to the needs and concern of that segment of the American population that have been left out and left behind. He must come up with more than words. We've had 12 years unelect by the previous administration and by this president.
Eleanor Holmes Norton, to those who say, and I heard some say it today, my guess is you may have, and I quote now, it's their own damn fault. What say you?
Look, the black community has increasingly taken responsibility for its own problems within the context of a country which has not done its part. It's not made a lot of difference. How could it be our own fault that Rodney King was beat by some cops? How could it be our own fault that an all-white jury in the suburbs couldn't see him, couldn't hear him, and exercised every presumption in favor of the cops? What you've seen, actually, in the last decade is a resurgence of black notions of self-help. But it's been a pittance against the government that has withdrawn everything it could. The irony is that affirmative action, which has been criticized wildly by the government and by conservatives, in a real sense is part of what has saved some of the large cities like the one in which I sit, the nation's capital. Because what happened over the past 20 years is the integration of police departments, black police chiefs. All of that happened because the government insisted upon affirmative action. The time of the last riots, there were white cops patrolling black cities, and that only made the situation more incendiary. Now, the president, who is against affirmative action, is being helped this very evening because affirmative action has begun to integrate the people who patrol the very streets that he has done so little for.
Professor, you've written on this subject of affirmative action. I don't want to paraphrase what you've written, but basically you said affirmative action is not the key.
I think if Los Angeles shows us anything, it shows us that the problems at this point are profoundly deep. They're economic, they're social. We've got to have, I think, an urban policy that begins to deal with the cycle of poverty and that helps people in a developmental sense from preschool all the way through elementary school. I think that's the kind of thing that puts us in a position so that we can compete.
But if you could tell the president one thing to do beginning tomorrow, what would that one thing be?
Well, I think one thing that we need are social policies that are not race-based. I think we need to get past this notion in America of blacks being the eternal victims and whites being the eternal victimizers. I think that as long as we're locked into those roles, we're going to always be at each other's throats. I think we have to deal with people who are in dire situations, who are poor, as people. And so I would advocate any number of social policies. I think we have a good knowledge of what kinds of things ought to be done. But the first thing I would say is that they ought not to be race-based.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. We'll be back in a few moments with more about Los Angeles and beyond.
It's so big, it happens only once a year. America's largest yard sale at Sears. And every Craftsman mower and tractor is on sale. All tractors save $100 to $300. All mowers save from $10 to $100. Like this Craftsman 3.5 horsepower mower, only $169.99. The savings are spectacular. This week only during America's largest yard sale at Sears.
You can count on me, Sears, Roebuck and Company.
We built the Maytag refrigerator with shelves, bins, and drawers that will adjust to meet your changing needs in years to come. And solid, heavy-duty parts to last for years to come.
Yo, Mom!
We can only guess what the world will be like in years to come. But it's nice to know that whatever the future holds, your Maytag will too. Buy one now and get the best warranty in the business.
Here goes my future.
Listen to what people from across America say about the one television show you and your family can't afford to miss.
I want to say thank you for making a difference in my life with your series Rescue 911.
I really want to tell you how important your show is to me and to my family.
Situations on your show have helped save lives.
I'm so happy to have Rescue 911, all because you save people's lives.
Your program helped save my life.
Rescue 911, the one television show no one can afford to miss.
It's been 48 hours since the verdict, 2 days that have had their share of villains and villainy. You've heard a lot about that, but there's been the other, less reported side of the story of the heroes and their heroics.
When I looked on television and I saw the violence, immediately I made a decision to go down there to do what I could to help. This particular Spanish fellow came through on his way home. They jerked him out of his car. They began to beat him, and I was trying my best to help him out, to defend him.
Reverend Benny Newton defended a man he did not know against a mob of 20 vicious young men.
And then this one young man picked up a large speaker, and he took the speaker and lifted it above his head and came down on Mr. Lopez's head. And when he did that, I covered him with my body. I literally covered him with my body, and I told them, you're going to have to kill me too.
Reverend Benny Newton saved Fidel Lopez's life because he wanted to help out. A lot of brave people feel that way.
I mean, you see it on the news, everybody's wanting to help out.
Today, after 2 nights of rioting, a lot of people came out and went into the middle of this raging war. They came to save lives. They came to save buildings.
It's been real good. We put out a building over there, and we're putting this one out, and we saved this one.
Everybody's pulling together. I'm not even from this neighborhood.
They came to save entire neighborhoods.
You know, I think the people in the community, they come out and they see more and more people getting active and actually cleaning up and trying to do as much as you can. I think you'll get more involvement.
Actor Edward James Olmos.
I got on the air yesterday and told them that I was just going to go out with a broom in my hand. And basically what is happening right now is that the Community Youth Gang Services came up and joined me, and then all of a sudden hundreds of people from all over the community are coming out with brooms in their hands.
After all the destruction and death and fear, the one incident that's become perhaps the most haunting of them all, a young truck driver left for dead, lived. He lived, as his best friend told us, because 2 women came out and risked their lives to save his.
But they sat there and said when they saw an innocent man being beat like that, they knew it was time for them to get in their car and do something about it.
Over 130 years ago, Abraham Lincoln made history when he quoted the biblical book of Mark. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Lincoln was talking about slaves and masters. Generations later, slavery per se is no longer the issue, but the house is still divided, and we're still trying to stand and to keep the house standing for our children and their children. What was once a direct split between slave and master now isn't even just a split between black or white. America today is made up of many colors, many races and places. Lincoln's dream hasn't gotten any easier, but now, as in Lincoln's time, we're all in this together to do the best we can. For CBS News, Dan Rather. Good night.
You're watching KCBS-TV Channel 2, Los Angeles. Now, Bree Walker, Michael Tuck, Steve Rambo Weather, Jim Hill Sports, and Chopper 2. Channel 2 Action News, Nightcast.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks very much for joining us on what appears to be the first night of relative calm in the wake of riots that have ravaged our cities. Now, the latest on the death, the injuries, and the damage. We know that 40 people have died so far. Nearly 2,000 people injured, about 160 of them critically. About 4,400 arrests, but law enforcement has been so busy tonight, those numbers are probably much higher. A massive rebuilding effort is needed. Nearly 3,800 structures in Los Angeles alone were on fire. Preliminary estimates on the property damage is $550 million, but that does not include losses from the extensive looting. Some expect the figure to hit $1 billion. There are 6,000 National Guard troops here with another 6,000 federal troops, Army and Marine, ready, waiting on standby. Bree?
As darkness fell over Los Angeles tonight, it signaled the start of dozens of city curfews. Right now, in many areas, the curfews are working. Streets appear deserted. We'll take you where the action is now with Will Spence. Will?
Good evening, Bree. Happily, there is no action here. We're at Vernon and Western, and this is one of the pivotal intersections in South Central Los Angeles. This would have been a horrible place to be last night or the night before. Behind me is standing a National Guardsman. He is holding an M16 rifle. He is one of 6 National Guardsmen at this intersection. We'll step into the intersection. We're in little danger of being hit by anything. There are occasional passing motorists, but mostly what is passing through this intersection are caravans of police cars and police vehicles, rescue vehicles, armored rescue vehicles, police snipers popping out of the top, wearing helmets and flak vests. We have a motorist passing through behind us. But this is sporadic traffic here, and this is the situation we find throughout South Central Los Angeles. We have a couple of National Guardsmen in doorways over there. We have one up against the wall over there. They are staying out of sight for the most part whenever they suspect there might be anything that is even vaguely suspicious. We witnessed just a couple of minutes ago a car coming down the street moving very slowly. The National Guardsmen took cover. We heard echoing across the street the snap of a round popping into the chamber. And the car pulled up and stopped, and a man got out with his groceries, walked across the street, walked into his apartment building, and the car slowly pulled away. The situation in South Central tonight is very quiet. This curfew is indeed holding. As I say, there is a heavy police presence out here. There is serious firepower out here. And there is more of it standing by, as we know, with the U.S. Marines barracked nearby. This is a police caravan unmarked passing behind me at this point, and that is the way it is going here in South Central. The difficulty that we've seen over the last 2 nights is over, and with all of the firepower that is on these streets, I would hazard a guess that it is not likely to reappear. That is the situation. We are at Vernon and Western with very good news. However, of course, tomorrow the sun will come up and we will all see the tragedy of what was done here in the last couple of days. And so tomorrow, the rebuilding starts, the cleanup starts here in South Central. Bree and Michael?
Well, when they see people on the streets, are they using loudspeakers to tell them to get inside?
We have not seen that. Mostly what is happening is those people are stopped, they're questioned, and then they move on their way. The presence here is so strong, so heavy, that there have been no challenges that we have witnessed so far this evening.
You haven't seen people arrested just for being out, though, is that right, Will?
No, we have not. They are questioned, and then they are moved along on their way. We've got another police caravan moving behind us now. And this is an example. You've seen a couple in the short time that we've been on the air, so that they're keeping close watch on what is happening in South Central Los Angeles, and they're paying close attention to everything that moves on the streets.
Okay, Will, thank you very much. Right. What an incredibly different picture tonight from what it was last night.
Thank goodness.
Much better picture. Well, Chopper 2 has been giving us an overview of the destruction ever since the rioting began on Wednesday night. Photographer Joel Takash is aboard Chopper 2 right now. Joel, that's a fire burning furiously right now down below. Can you tell us about that?
That's correct, Michael. Right now you're looking at a fire we found a little while ago burning, and it appears to be at the Pico and Hoover area. And when we arrived down here, we saw the plumes of black smoke and picked up right away on it and noticed that the fire officials were responding. They're pounding a lot of water. Let me take my camera here for you and pull it a little closer so you can see the intensity of the flames down there. Just watch the monitor there. You can see it, and it's burning at a pretty intense rate. We were listening to the police radios up here, and indication is that they spotted some arsonists leaving the location, chased them, and at this time, our understanding is they have not caught the suspects. Let me pull back here a little wider, give you an idea. We saw a sign earlier before the smoke got so heavy, and it showed that it appears to be some sort of market. And again, the flames burning quite a bit here, and fire officials have responded, and you can see several units on the scene there, and good indication as we've been flying around here tonight that there are several units available, and that the police the fire department has not been spread as thin tonight.
Right.
So several units are there.
That's really the obvious contrast to us tonight, is look at the response by the fire department tonight as they are able to battle fires the way they're more used to battling them, and that is in greater numbers.
You know, Bree, the last couple of nights, from that vantage point, we've been able to literally hopscotch from one fire to another. I'm curious, Joel, do you see any other fires burning up there right now?
No, we haven't spotted any tonight. Flying around here, like I said before we came on the broadcast, hadn't spotted any fires at all. And I was telling our pilot, Paul, that, it's kind of a comforting feeling somewhat to see the skies a little clear tonight. that lume of smoke that's been hanging over LA the last couple of days, you know, and not seeing that tonight, seeing those clear lights that most people are used to in an aerial perspective, was a comforting thought. And then all of a sudden we spotted this, and I thought, gosh, you know, it's burning again.
The skies do smell cleaner, though, almost everywhere where they haven't been in the last 48 hours. Thousands of police officers, thousands of National Guard troops, and thousands of federal troops standing by at the ready. They've brought calm to our streets. We'll take you where the action is now with reporter Jody Baskerville live in Hollywood. Jody?
Well, Bree, it's kind of an eerie sight. I'm on Hollywood Boulevard, and it's practically deserted. The only people you can see here are law enforcement officers. Just 48 hours ago, this was the scene of several fires and lots of looting. In fact, a lot of the stores up and down this street are still boarded up. The curfew, it just goes to show you that police are taking it very seriously.
You got the ID?
No, I have no idea. The dusk to dawn curfew was not taken lightly by law enforcement officers out to keep the peace.
See my arm right here. Behind your back.
This woman was handcuffed after she was spotted walking down Hollywood Boulevard with an iron pry bar in her hand.
She saw the officers over here and she set it down and kept walking. We called them over to talk to them about the curfew, and then I went back and we found this.
Civilians caught walking the streets without proper identification and a good reason were busted on the spot, no questions asked.
This is a warehouse store, and we've been having problems around the area, and absolutely part of enforcing the curfew law would definitely reduce the crimes in the area.
But despite the citywide curfew, some law-abiding citizens dared to venture out after dark. Cheryl Amon just wanted something to eat. Cheryl, how about you? Any second thoughts about coming out because there's a curfew?
As a matter of fact, yes. I asked Bill on my way out of the door, I said, Bill, I'm wondering, am I going to get in any trouble going out to get a burger? He says, I'll walk with you.
They don't seem to be enforcing it tonight for some reason, so we feel at ease, you know, being out.
But of course, that is a definite misconception. Police are, in fact, enforcing the curfew. So if you're out and about and it's after dark, chances are you're going to get stopped. Bree, Michael?
Seems as though they are enforcing it somewhat selectively, though, Jody.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you for that. Well, the LAPD was looking for a few good men and women to back them up, and tonight they have them. A full 1,500 Marines left Camp Pendleton late this afternoon to be an added show of force in Los Angeles. Now that they're in LA, they'll just sit and wait. Only orders from President Bush can send them into the affected areas, and then they'll be deployed at the discretion of Police Chief Darrell Gates and Sheriff Sherman Block. In all, there are 6,000 federal law enforcement troops here in the Southland tonight.
Hundreds of Marine troops are anxiously awaiting word whether they will be pressed into action as reinforcements for the LAPD. Mary Parks joins us from Tustin with that story. Mary.
Vehicle after vehicle rolls into the Marine Corps Air Station, loaded with infantrymen and ammunition from Camp Pendleton. Still covered with the sand-colored camouflage from Desert Storm, these armored vehicles are prepared to roll into the streets of L.A.
As far as going into LA, it's going to be kind of weird. It's not like Desert Storm or anything. These are your people. These are taxpayers in your country. They're right in your backyard.
What can you do, with a bunch of people just going crazy down there? Our job is just to clean up and make things right again.
A specially trained sniper squad with scope weapons are on standby. Other Marines are packing M16s, grenade launchers, and bayonets. Their military garb includes flak jackets or bulletproof vests and a full-face gas mask. The battalion tonight practices crowd control maneuvers and how to handle would-be looters. Only time will tell if these Marines and another contingency of Army troops will be needed to restore peace on the streets of L.A. In Tustin, Mary Parks, Action News Nightcast.
There's been a chain reaction coast to coast to the violence here, keeping law enforcement nationwide on alert tonight. It is calm right now in San Francisco during the second night under curfew there. A state of emergency has been declared in the city following last night's violence. We're looking at the aftermath now. Police arrested more than 1,500 people during the outbreak of looting and vandalism. Many stores shut down and major sporting and entertainment events have been canceled there too. The National Guard is keeping things under control right now in Las Vegas after shootings, fires, and looting erupted last night throughout the city's west side. Officials there say so far tonight it is pretty quiet. A curfew is in effect until dawn. Police have issued the warning that if gunmen shoot at them, they will return fire. In New York City, all is relatively calm right now. Some looting took place as an unruly crowd that swelled to about 1,000 people smashed some store glass and threw garbage cans. several people were stabbed. At least 61 people have been arrested in New York.
And when we come back on this special edition of Nightcast, we'll hear President Bush's thoughts on the verdict and the latest on Reginald Denny. He's the man brutally beaten by rioters.
Plus, Rodney King breaks his long silence and pleads for peace.
People, I just want to say,
well, you know, I hope that things cool down because, you know, this is wrong. We're destroying our own community. And, you know, it's not worth all this. You know, we could just do peaceful
protest.
Yeah, peaceful protest. You know, we can hold signs, but, you know, we don't have to burn up our own community.
Channel 2 Action News, sponsored in part by Toyota.
It's hard to describe when you hold your child for the very first time. You feel that little hand. You hear that little cry. You realize you're responsible for someone else. It changes your priorities. It even changes what you drive.
The 1992 Toyota Previa, along with standard driver's side airbag and optional anti-lock brakes. It's the only van to meet all passenger car federal motor vehicle safety standards. Toyota Previa.
Changes everything.
Whatever it takes. Montgomery Ward.
At Electric Avenue, Montgomery Ward, all tractors and mowers are on sale. Save $70 on our 4.5 horsepower 3-in-1 mower, just $229. Save $200 on this 18 horsepower tractor. Get instant discounts even on sale prices on all the hottest brands like Sony, Panasonic, Frigidaire, Maytag. Take 30 to 50% off the biggest names in furniture. Then take an extra 10% off, even on sale prices.
In Southern California, we've got a problem. And with one of the largest van pools in the state, we're doing something about it. Yeah, it's more relaxing, but it also reduces traffic and smog. And that means being able to see the mountains more often. For us, it's real simple. Making advanced aircraft without taking care of where we all live just won't fly. At Northrop, we're setting our sights higher.
For Mother's Day, Ross has the top names in fragrances at one low price, $29. Save 34 to 40% at Ross now.
92 Mercury Tracer, one small family sedan that thinks big. With more interior room than Civic, Prism, or Corolla. And now more value with a special package featuring air conditioning and automatic transmission at no charge on Tracer with package 576R. Mercury Tracer, the small sedan that's big on value. No charge air, no charge automatic, and no time to waste. Now get $500 cash back on 92 Tracer.
My kids are screaming and crying because they don't understand this.
I understand people's anger. I'm angry too about the verdict. But you just can't be hurting innocent people.
Oh, they're shooting at us and we're trying to do the work down here.
It's stupid, it's silly, man. It ain't helping any.
Stay with Channel 2 Action News as we take you into the community where residents struggle to restore safety in hopes that reason and reform will prevail.
Bueno, lo más importante es tratar de mantener la paz y la unidad en este tiempo y tratar de mantener nuestra paz.
President Bush says he, too, was shocked by the Rodney King verdict. In a 10-minute address to the nation tonight, the president said there is no excuse for the kind of violence we've seen here in the last couple of days. He empathized with those who are outraged.
What you saw and what I saw on the TV video was revolting. I felt anger. I felt pain. And I thought, how can I explain this to my grandchildren? Civil rights leaders and just plain citizens fearful of and sometimes victimized by police brutality were deeply hurt. And I know good and decent policemen who were equally appalled. I spoke this morning to many leaders of the civil rights community, and they saw the video as we all did. For 14 months, they waited patiently, hopefully. They waited for the system to work. And when the verdict came in, they felt betrayed. Viewed from outside the trial, it was hard to understand how the verdict could possibly square with the video. Those civil rights leaders with whom I met were stunned. And so was I, and so was Barbara, and so were my kids. But the verdict Wednesday was not the end of the process.
He says the process will now include a civil rights lawsuit against the 4 officers and a possible federal indictment against them as well.
We do have some welcome news tonight about that trucker who was beaten so brutally in the streets as thousands of horrified television viewers watched. The attack occurred Wednesday night as the violence began to explode in South Central Los Angeles. Well, tonight that victim, we're happy to tell you, is recovering. Our Patty Eckert joins us in the newsroom with these details. Patty?
Well, it really is good news, and we haven't had much of that in the last 48 hours. Trucker Reginald Denny is getting better after an attack that left him nearly dead and left the people who watched it stunned.
Yesterday, he's in serious but stable condition at this time.
There have been thousands of calls from people who watched in horror as Reginald Denny was grabbed from his truck and brutally beaten at a South Los Angeles intersection on Wednesday. The attack was caught by a TV helicopter. Bloodied and near death, Denny was left in the street until 4 strangers helped him to escape. When he arrived at the hospital, he was comatose. But today, his doctors told us he will recover.
It is a little bit too early to tell the extent of his recovery, although we're hoping and praying that he will make a satisfactory recovery with regard to his brain function.
Dr. Geiger pointed out the multiple skull and sinus fractures. His family has been with Reginald Denny constantly. In a statement, they expressed their appreciation for the public's concern, but confusion about what has happened.
My impression is that they, as well as is true of many other people, are trying to make sense of this whole event.
Yes, he is here. We have a fund that we have here for him.
The switchboard at Daniel Freeman Hospital has been jammed since Wednesday. People from all over the United States and Canada are calling with prayers, good wishes, and donations to help the man they sometimes only know as the truck driver. As a result of the outpouring, several funds have been set up for Reginald Denny and for the hospital. Donations can be sent to the Truck Drivers Assistance Fund at Daniel Freeman Hospital, 333 North Prairie Avenue, Inglewood, California, 90301.
I'm afraid that the negative side of the story is that police say tonight that they have no suspects. No one has been arrested in the attack on Reginald Denny.
Patty, since so many people did see it happen, and of course there's still criticism that the officers didn't arrive in time to help him out, how are they responding to the family when they ask those questions, do you know?
You know what? What we understand from the hospital is that the family is very private and is only interested and is only focused on helping Reggie, as they call him, Reggie, recover. They have done nothing else. And in fact, today, in that prepared statement that the hospital released, they said they asked that everybody stay away from them, that they not be bombarded with questions about anything, that they want to devote all of their time to helping Reggie recover.
Certainly, that's what's foremost in everybody's minds right now, Patty.
Yeah, we're wishing him well tonight. For the first time in more than a year, we heard today from Rodney King. In a tearful, emotional plea, he begged for an end to the violence. Harvey Levin was there, and he spoke with Rodney King. Harvey joins us now. Harvey.
Bree, Rodney King really hasn't been heard since the beating a year ago, March 3rd. He was notably absent from the trial of the 4 LAPD officers accused of using excessive force against him, officers who were acquitted. But today, Rodney King's message was not one of bitterness over the verdict. It was a message of peace.
People, I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids? And I mean, we've got enough smog here in Los Angeles. Let alone to deal with the setting these fires and things. It's just not right. It's not right, and it's not gonna change anything. We'll get our justice. They've won the battle, but they haven't won the war. We'll have our day in court, and that's all we want. And just I love, you know, I'm neutral. I love people of color. You know, I'm not like they picking me out to be. We've got to quit. We've got to quit. You know, after all, I mean, I can understand the first upset for the first 2 hours after the verdict, but to keep going on like this, and to see the security guard shot on the ground, it's just not right. It's just not right, because those people will never go home to their families again. And I mean, please, we can get along here. We all can get along. We just gotta, you know. I mean, we're all stuck here for a while. Let's try to work it out. Let's try to beat it. You know. Let's try and work it out.
Thank you. Well, Mr. King, how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling okay? You feeling okay?
I'll feel okay when they stop running around the streets, acting like what's going on. I'll feel better.
That would help heal it for you too.
Yeah, the fighting's over. Let's get along here.
You want to move on with things?
Yeah, it's all over.
Do you think that the verdict, did it affect you? Did it upset you?
Huh?
Did the verdict upset you, Mr. King?
We'll have our day in court.
Where were you when you...
Rodney King appeared physically fit, though he did have a limp. He seemed nervous, and I suppose he was nervous for two reasons. One, he was greeted by a throng of reporters who were chomping at the bit to speak with him. And secondly, I think he knew that the statement that he made would have a tremendously important impact on the situation in Los Angeles and in the nation. His significance here, I think, really took on some kind of symbolic impact.
Certainly did, Harvey. You know, the jury in the criminal trial had not heard from Rodney King, and consequently, some of those jurors apparently did not have a high opinion of him. Virtually everybody will see this tape. Soon a new jury will be impaneled in his lawsuit. Will this affect their thinking of Rodney King?
Well, I suppose if anybody can say anything for sure about the trial that we've just seen, it's that a videotape, regardless of how much it's played over and over and over, does not necessarily have an impact on what a jury does. So if the George Holliday videotape didn't have a determinative impact, I don't think that the statements he made today would either.
Everyone's pretty used to media in a big way.
Right. Thank you, Harvey. A potentially volatile situation outside a South Central L.A. post office today as hundreds of people tried to jam into the building. But as Willis Sandmeyer reports, the tense situation was defused with a little help from people in the community.
People began lining up hours before this post office opened at 10 in the morning. They were anxious to get Social Security and welfare checks, something they depend on. They were already suffering the pain of seeing their neighborhood hard hit in recent rioting.
Well, the whole entire process of it made me nervous because they're pushing and shoving, they're fighting in line, and there's so far been one lady who went into labor and one gentleman who had a stroke right before me.
Even though this post office had no electricity because of damage suffered in those disturbances, postal inspectors decided to go ahead and keep the post office open.
There was a lot of time spent on that decision, and it involved community leaders. It involved, of course, other security people, the Los Angeles Police Department and the National Guard backing us up. And the reason was they felt the concern in the community, it was very important to get their checks because it would be possibly more volatile if people didn't receive their welfare checks, SSI checks, or Social Security checks.
But the process of handing out the checks was slow. At times, there was pushing and shoving by a few. Action News showed the long lines and the frustration of the people. And then help began coming in. Water was donated after a viewer who saw the long lines urged Sparklets to deliver water to that location.
You're here handing out water with ice, so what brought you down here today? My girlfriend called me up and she told me they needed some water down here, so I told her I'd come out and help her. This is one of them.
Pepsi-Cola also had people handing out sodas. Members of the community pitched in too. As the people enjoyed something to drink, the frustration calmed. The post office had sanitation facilities delivered as well, since no one wanted to leave the line for any reason. The post office agreed to extend the closing time from 2 to 4:30. Extra workers were brought in to speed up the process. Still, as the 4:30 deadline neared, and there were so many yet to get their checks, others worried what would happen when these people were turned away. One community resident made an impassioned plea on the air.
And I also give a challenge to the ministers of our community to come out here and be crowd control units. Please, we need our black ministers of the community to be out here with your members. Thank you. We need that.
A short time later, the Reverend Jesse Jackson showed up. He talked with people in the line. And then the post office told the people it would try to stay open as long as possible so everyone could get their checks. In the end, there was no violent confrontation. This situation ended peacefully because people pulled together to make it happen. In South Central Los Angeles, Willa Sandmeyer, Action News Nightcast.
And this important note to pass along to you, that post office will be open from 8 o'clock tomorrow morning until noon, and regular mail service will resume on Monday. More to come tonight, including the aftermath of Latasha Harlan's death, a family in grief and a community in peril.
Magic Johnson takes his message to the streets.
And Arsenio Hall and the lessons he learned from the rage in L.A.
That's exactly what we're going to do.
Well, I think if you're mad, just don't go burning up stuff. It doesn't make any sense. If you're mad, but just don't go ruining stuff because it's making everything worse.
Well, I was watching the news with my mom, and she was scared because people were just pulling people out of their cars and, beating them and stuff. And like my mom and I said, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Grab your coat, get your hat, leave your worries on your doorstep. Direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear that little bat? It's a happy tune at your step. Life is sweet on the sunny side of the street, yeah.
At BMW, we build convertibles that shine, even when the sun doesn't.
Around here, people genuinely dislike not being able to find things, like house keys, eyeglasses, or a boyfriend. So how convenient that Bank of America has the most full-service ATMs in California. You can always find one and get to your money. This may or may not make up for the fact that you haven't seen your cat in 2 days. Versatiller machines, because you should be able to find at least one thing you need at all times. Bank of America.
We drove an engine 200,000 grueling miles using new Mobil 1. Then we ripped it apart. What did we find? Nothing. Nothing. Virtually no engine wear. What kept these vital engine parts like new? This part. New Advanced Formula Mobil 1. It keeps your engine running like new.
Spellbound perfume from Estee Lauder. Now this 14-piece makeup collection, a $90 value, is yours for just $18.50 with any Estee Lauder fragrance purchase. This special offer is yours now at the Broadway.
My kids are screaming and crying because they don't understand this.
I understand people's anger. I'm angry, too, about the verdict. But you just can't be hurting innocent people.
Oh, they're shooting at us, and we're trying to do the work down here. It's stupid. It's silly, man. It ain't helping any.
Stay with Channel 2 Action News as we take you into the community where residents struggle to restore safety in hopes that reason and reform will prevail.
This plea is going out for all colors, races, and creeds. Please, let's get off the streets. Let's really try to help in the situation. If you have anybody that's out on the street, just get them home.
Time now to bring the situation up to speed on just what the toll of these riots is. The numbers are staggering. The death toll now standing at 40. Scores injured, nearly 2,000 people. Dozens of those remain in critical condition. Now, our figures show that authorities arrested about 4,400 people, but since law enforcement is continuing the crackdown on the streets right now and is arresting a lot of curfew violators, expect that number to climb considerably. Fires lit up the skies. In L.A. alone, nearly 3,800 structures went up in flames. We have passed the $500 million mark for preliminary estimates on property damage, but that doesn't even include losses from the extensive looting. Some expect the eventual figure to hit $1 billion. There's 6,000 National Guard troops here with another 6,000 federal troops, Army and Marine, ready to go into action on any minute's notice.
This story now of how people of South Central LA have been trying very hard to save their own homes and businesses. Dave Barker joins us from the newsroom with the story, one with a connection to another explosive tragedy. Dave.
All right, Bree and Mike, it concerns the Latasha Harlins case. Most, of course, remember the story of the 15-year-old girl killed in a confrontation over a $1.79 bottle of orange juice. And it happened, of course, last year at a Korean liquor store. Now, vandals tried burning that store this week, but Latasha's own aunt and residents of a motel next door jumped in and put the fire out.
Yeah, we heard that a Molotov cocktail had been thrown in, and someone came and they got us. And so we immediately rushed up here.
Did you see flames when you got up here?
Yeah, there were flames, not just, a lot of smoke, and fortunately, the people next door, a lot of them had galvanized, came together and came to start. They had already started their mission with the water. I don't know any of the people in there personally, but the kids were my main concern. And I know Latasha loved children just as well.
You remember the other night when the fires were going next door, right?
Yeah, we was putting them out. We was putting them out.
What do you think about it? You almost lost your house the other night.
Yeah.
It was scary.
You think we're safe now?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
They gonna keep doing the same thing.
Yep.
Let's keep on doing the same thing.
And it gets worse because we don't know what's going to happen next. And the reason I say we don't know what's going to happen next is because they set a motel on fire. Ours could be next, and then it might not. But we in fear because we got to park our cars. This shouldn't have to happen.
You're parking your cars here as a...
For a reason.
As a barricade.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
You remember, Denise?
All right, how y'all doing? Fine. Oh, honey, I'm all right.
What happened the other night?
It was a bunch of corruption and burning up stuff and tearing down stuff. It was a shame.
You saved the building then?
Yeah. I was just glad they didn't burn down that building because a lot of people stay here and children and all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because this don't make no sense, you know. At first, it was okay, they was doing what they had to do. We knew that something was going to happen. But then it's just getting out of, because they're destroying. We got to live here. We didn't put this building out 3 times.
And it doesn't make any
sense.
Okay?
3 times we put this out. It just don't make no sense because they're destroying. They're not hurting nobody but us.
It's perhaps the ultimate of ironies that you took this really heroic act to save the building where your family's ultimate tragedy occurred.
Personally, it affects me every time I have to walk up here and see this building and know my niece was shot and killed in this particular store. I would like to see maybe something of a cultural center or a monument in Latasha's name here at this particular store to have something for the people in the community to come in to learn their roots and who they are.
Denise Harlins tells us tonight that she knows who tried to burn that liquor store and motel. She tells us she will deal peacefully with them tomorrow so that the building can be saved as a possible monument down the road to Latasha. Mike and Bree.
Thank you very much, Dave. That concludes Nightcast for now, but we're going to take a short break, then come right back with much more coverage, including Jim Hill with some very important words from Magic Johnson. First, though, this.
You're watching KCBS-TV Channel 2, Los Angeles. Now, the latest news, weather, and sports for Southern California. Channel 2 Action News.
Hello once again, everybody. Magic Johnson is more than just a former athlete. He's a role model many young people look up to. Jim Hill joins us now with a look at Magic's reaction these past couple of days to all the bad news we've had to report.
And I could see the hurt and anguish in his eyes, and we know that he will have a positive effect on the community. This morning, I spoke with Magic about the wave of violence that has taken its toll on our community, and he expressed his concern on what will happen next when the dust finally settles.
What happens is when you look up Monday or next week, a lot of people are going to be, first of all, homeless. They're going to be jobless. And then all the things that we take for granted in terms of the convenience, cleaners, shopping, grocery shopping, yes, that little liquor store, all those things going to be gone.
The greatest fear is that rebuilding will be difficult or impossible. Banks and insurance companies may pass at putting their money into businesses in burned-out areas, leaving business owners with no way to get back on their feet. But Johnson says that can't be allowed to happen, even if it means taking the ball and running with it himself.
We can't wait for everybody else to rebuild our community. We got to put our own hands in it. If I have to go in there and buy some land up where it's been burnt down and build a building or build something where I can get jobs to young people, that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I plan on doing.
The scenes of looting have also been very disturbing to Magic, as he worries about the message it sends to the youngsters in the community.
And that's the sad part about it, Jim, when I watch all this. They're out here thinking that this can go on, and this is all right to do what they're doing, and it's not all right.
Magic went on to say the only way to overcome the frustration is through the education of our young people. The best way to beat all this violence is with our smarts. I'll be back later with details of when and where the Lakers will play this coming weekend.
Exactly what the McCone Commission said as well.
Absolutely.
Education is where it's got to start.
Better believe, and register to vote too. That's where you really get started. Yeah.
We'll go back to the streets in South LA with our Will Spence now, who's been there trying to figure out what's going on in the last few minutes. Is there some activity now, Will, to report?
Yeah, there's a strong, we've just witnessed an incident which indicates how much firepower and manpower is on the streets here. There was a pursuit that came through this intersection at Vernon and Western, one of the pivotal intersections in South Central. And let's go to some videotape recorded just a couple of moments ago. There must have been about 30 police cars chasing after this car, this red car passing through the intersection. There was a lone driver in that car. We understand the La Habra police officers who were in South Central started the chase. We don't know exactly what the problem was. Suspicions that it might have been a stolen car. In any event, apparently they tried to pull him over. He decided to try and run. And what resulted was, now you've seen 4 perhaps police cars come through. We saw a procession, as I say, within 2 or 3 minutes of at least 30 police cars. Once the chase started, it got underway full force. Everybody in the vicinity joined in. And we can tell you that the way it wrapped up, apparently about a mile down the road here, it ended in an accident. And then the driver of the red car apparently went out on foot. And then he was brought into custody after a foot chase. So that's an example of the kind of manpower and firepower that is on the streets here. We're at Vernon and Western. We've got 2 National Guardsmen behind us. That is the situation here tonight. The curfew is holding here in South Central Los Angeles.
That's what they mean by a show of force.
30 after 1 suspect. What a dramatic switch from 24 hours ago.
One of the best ways to understand the problems, the deep-seated and long simmering problems that led to the violence, is to talk about them. That's exactly what TV host Arsenio Hall did on radio tonight in Burbank. Kim Mariner's in the newsroom has details on this very unique broadcast. Kim?
Marie, Stop the Violence was the theme of an open radio forum heard by millions of people all across the nation. It gave people an opportunity to call in and express their concerns about these troubled times and to vent their frustrations.
If we have to walk the streets tonight and tell brothers to chill, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Arsenio Hall took to the microphone at Power 106 FM in Burbank tonight. The program was simulcast on scores of radio stations across the nation. The message was increase the peace. And he talked not only with celebrities that range from Luther Vandross to Edward James Olmos. He talked with local residents, including one young man who admitted to have looted during the turmoil.
Let me ask you a question. When you were looting, Michael,
yes,
what was going through your mind? I mean, were you taking things that you needed because you can't afford certain things?
Well, it was more of a fact that I was taking because I was caught up in the rage at first, and then I started getting upset. I was sitting at home, and I kept getting upset. The more I heard on the TV that the fact that these officers are getting off with nothing. I mean, they're not even doing any time. I go out, and I get pulled over for 4 warrants. And I do 3 days and have to pay $900 and some odd, and it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know I did wrong, and I know I have to do my time, but they should also see it as they're wrong, and they have to do their time too. There's no way you can get away with it.
You know, Michael, I kind of admire you, man, because the first step to solving a problem is to realize you have one. And man, you are such a man to sit there or stand there on the phone and say, hey, I looted. I'm telling you why I looted, and I know I was wrong. Man, I admire you a lot.
I want to return it. I just don't want to get busted, you know? I got a family. I don't want to go to jail. I got to work.
Bring it to Power 106. I'll return it for you.
The scheduled 1-hour program quickly became a 2-hour broadcast as the Reverend Jesse Jackson joined Hall in the studio. He too answered questions and talked about the underlying social problems that led to the violence. He again called for calm and called for social change. There was no shortage of calls from the public and no shortage of celebrities either to share their views. There was one common theme. Violence is not the answer. Michael, Bree.
We'll need a lot more programs like this.
Yes, we do.
Well, Steve Rambo joins us now with information about how to get into the act of cleaning up, and lots of folks can be wanting to join in that effort.
Well, it's the instant cleanup that happened earlier today that began with Edward James Olmos and the people walking down to the ABC store. That is now spreading around, and there are a couple of areas that can also go. Got a call earlier today from, well, here they are. The First AME Church, if you want to go by there at 6 a.m. tomorrow, that's at 2270 South Harvard. Now, 6 a.m. is also at the time of the end of the curfew, so they've now changed that and said, start arriving shortly after 6. They'll wait for you. They don't want anyone to violate those curfew hours. Senator Diane Watson's headquarters over at 3833 Crenshaw Boulevard, also where a cleanup is going to be beginning there at 9 o'clock. That one organized by Reverend Winford Bell at St. Andrew's Baptist Church. The other one organized by the people over at First AME Church. And the good news is that they say to bring brooms and trash cans and trash bags and shovels and such. There's also a shortage of those kinds of things. We got a call earlier today from a fellow named Gary Peterson who started a company called Ecolo Hall, now called Recycle America. He said, Steve, how can I help? Well, we found a way. He's going to now donate some supplies to these cleanups. While they will give some supplies tomorrow, they know these cleanups will last all week, and they'll be providing those kind of supplies throughout the week as these cleanups continue around the city.
Good for you, Gary.
First step toward healing.
The first step, yes.
Thank you.
Steve will be back with the word on the weekend weather.
And yes, the sports world tries getting back to normal. Jim Hill has some highlights for us.
Though you have seen reports and we continue to hear the focus on South Central LA, just want you to know that there are people there that are very good, and we are concerned about our community.
It's hard for me to stand here and say don't be violent because I'm as mad as anybody could be. I'm so angry, I'm about to give myself a heart seizure because it's just killing me, but I know violence is not the answer.
Is this how your kids will spend their summer vacation? This summer, take home a Club Med vacation. There are Club Med villages for families, couples, and singles.
The top 5 reasons for choosing a new Mazda Miata. 5, the thrill of driving a classic. 4, more headroom than the Astrodome. 3, tanning booths can't do 60. 2, you can lease one for only $229 a month. And the #1 reason for choosing a Mazda Miata, it's a magnet. See your neighborhood Mazda dealer today for great values.
Pactel has one of its most popular portables on sale right now. Simply call this number. That's Pactel, the inventor of Pactel Microcell with digital technology, a ruler of the cellular universe. And it's only $9.95 a month. Thank goodness I didn't mention the free battery eliminator.
Call 1-800-222-9595. Operators are standing by.
Cautiously.
Stay within the lines. The lines are our friends. Stay within them. Stay within the lines. The lines are our friends.
Introducing the world's first V6 crayon.
Are you listening?
The Isuzu Rodeo, built to go way outside the lines.
Is this any way to fill your summer vacation? This summer, take home a Club Med vacation. There are Club Med villages for families, couples, and singles.
The riot situation here in L.A. has now forced the closure of 4 beaches. The beaches are Will Rogers, Venice, Dockweiler, Cabrillo Beach, and San Pedro. They are the closest beaches to the riot-ravaged areas, the most riot-ravaged areas. County supervisors are worried about people's safety, and they're concerned because they could be gathering places by potential troublemakers as well. So these beaches will be closed until further notice.
Well, if ever we could use a nice, beautiful, sunny weekend, this is the one, Steve Rambo. Maybe you can put a smile on some people's faces here tonight.
Maybe we can put a smile on some people's faces tonight. When you see the satellite photo, there will be little doubt of what the weather's going to be like this weekend. It should be very pleasant. Temperatures are going to get down into a more normal range. We've had these warm 80s last week. We cooled off a little bit this week. We'll continue in the mild temperatures as the weekend goes on. Look at today's afternoon high temperature for you, 78. That's pretty pleasant for this time of year. Almost normal. 72 would be about normal. 60 was our low this morning. And here's what's going on for us. The satellite photo showing a high pressure ridge over our area, and that's why we have the very clear skies. A couple things to look at. There's a little frontal system that's going to push toward the Pacific Northwest. As it does so, it increases the onshore flow here in the Southland, and that brings us a west wind that also helps to keep us cool. A little bit of patchy cloudiness will form along the coast, but the coastal cloudiness that we get this time of year has not been as strong because we have very warm ocean water, and what makes the clouds, part of what helps to make the marine layer so strong is the reaction between the surface air temperature and the cooler water temperature, helping to condensate and create some clouds. We don't have that heavy system happening, but we still have a mild onshore flow. The marine layer did burn off pretty rapidly today. It'll do so again tomorrow, but not enough to get rid of the haze. We'll still have haze. We'll still have moderate to unhealthful air quality all around the Southland, and temperatures on the mild side. Look at these 80s instead of upper 80s, middle to lower 80s, 70s along the shoreline, and over the next 5 days, here's what you can expect. As our 5-day outlook says, 80s right through next Wednesday. Some patchy morning clouds. Just a minute. Drop it down one more time. Okay, we're back. Oh, I'm back. Okay, that's it. You saw that 5-day. Did you see the rest of it? Okay, we're done with the weather. Oh, there it's back again for you. The magic of television. I love live TV. There you go. You've got the heavier clouds on Wednesday as another frontal system starts coming by, and that'll give us a cooler day on Wednesday and pump up the clouds just a bit. Now I'm through.
Okay.
Okay. Are you smiling now after that one? Yes, everybody should be smiling.
And now maybe we can get back to some of the games, too. Obviously, it's been inappropriate to even talk about games for quite a few hours now, but maybe we need the levity now.
Yeah, you know, Magic mentioned today, maybe we should get back to the games, give everyone a little bit of release, and that's what's going to happen. The violence that has rocked the city over the last few days has put a stop to all local sporting events, especially the NBA playoffs. The Clippers will move their game out of the L.A. County, while the Lakers are heading out of state. Game 4 of the Lakers playoff series against Portland, scheduled for tonight at the Forum, was postponed. Instead, they will play Sunday afternoon at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. Tip-off is set for shortly after 12:30. Meanwhile, Game 4 of the Clippers series with Utah has been moved from the sports arena to the Anaheim Convention Center. That time has also been changed again from tomorrow to Sunday about 3 in the afternoon. The NBA playoffs are not the only sports affected. The Dodgers not only postponed tonight's game against Montreal, but the entire weekend series as well. The Dodgers won't play again until Tuesday, when they will be in Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. The California Angels were the only local team to play this evening, beating the Indians in Cleveland by a score of 7-5. Junior Felix, who began the day tied for the RBI lead in the American League, knocked in 2 more runs for California. Only one NBA playoff game tonight at Detroit. The Pistons' Joe Dumars with the between-his-legs pass to Isaiah Thomas for the jumper. Detroit led New York by 10 points at halftime. And Piston coach Chuck Daly is really in a state of shock. Dennis Rodman grabbed 17 rebounds to go along with his 12 points, and Detroit beats the Knicks 86-82, evening their series at 2 games apiece. The 5th and decisive game will be Sunday at Madison Square Garden. And finally, 3-time champion Dennis Conner will not get a chance to defend the America's Cup. Conner's Stars and Stripes lost to Bill Koch's America Cube by over 5 minutes in today's Defender Finals. America Cube won the best of 13 series 7-4. They will begin defense of the America's Cup on May 9th against Italy. And that's a look at sports. I hope we all have a very safe and peaceful weekend.
Let's hope that.
Yeah.
Second that motion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Straight ahead on Nightcast, we'll go back to Jody Baskerville live in Hollywood and the lessons to be learned dating back a quarter of a century.
I don't see the answer to our problem in riots. So my slogan is not burn, baby, burn. My slogan is build, baby, build. Organize, baby, organize. Learn, baby, learn, so that you can earn, baby, earn.
Singapore Airlines is adding 44 more Megatop 747s to the world's youngest, most modern fleet. But we still believe in the romance of travel. Singapore girl, you'll always be a great way to fly.
The Mitsubishi Diamante LS with TCL traction control, electronically controlled suspension, anti-lock braking. Safety and performance features associated with luxury performance sedans like Lexus and Infiniti. Now seamlessly integrated and refined in this luxury performance sedan, the Diamante LS from Mitsubishi. The word is getting around.
You know Alpha Beta has fast service, fresh food, and friendly smiles. This week, Alpha Beta has Farmer John fresh quarter pork loin chops for $1.48 a pound. Budweiser beer in the 12-pack, just $5.88 plus CRV. And get 25% off all banquet frozen foods. Hurry in and don't forget your coupons. Alpha Beta doubles them every day. Tell a friend again.
Very Elms, you can save big with double coupons at Alpha Beta.
Come and save.
Here's the problem. You need to remodel your house, but you don't know if you'll ever get to do it. Because in between need and get is a gap called not enough money. Well, it's easy to bridge that gap between need and get. Just go to First Interstate Bank, because First Interstate offers home improvement loans, car loans, and secured lines of credit at some of our lowest rates in years. So to go from need to get, just go to First Interstate Bank, and we'll help you get what you need.
Luxury automobiles provide both driver and passenger side airbags. One of them is a Lincoln. And the other one is a Lincoln. With Lincoln, it's easy to be on the safe side. Lincoln, what a luxury car should be.
Whatever it takes, Montgomery Ward.
At Electric Avenue, Montgomery Ward, all tractors and mowers are on sale. Save $70 on our 4.5 horsepower 3-in-1 mower, just $229. Save $200 on this 18 horsepower tractor. Get instant discounts even on sale prices on all the hottest brands like Sony, Panasonic, Frigidaire, Maytag. Take 30 to 50% off the biggest names in furniture. Then take an extra 10% off, even on sale prices.
Streets of Hollywood have been a scene of hot spots now for a while. Let's check in with Jody Baskerville and see how well the piece is holding there.
Well, Bree, here on Hollywood Boulevard, things have been pretty quiet. The LAPD have been enforcing the curfew. They've also had some help from the National Guard. Joining me now is Officer Marvin Kidd. He's been here since 6 o'clock this evening when the curfew kicked in. How's it been going so far?
Real quiet. Compared to last night, there's been a lot less pedestrian activity, a lot less vehicle activity, and no reports of looting that I'm aware of on Hollywood Boulevard.
Now, how are people reacting when you approach them when they're just out on the street? I know some people are just going to get something to eat. Other people have other things in mind.
If we see someone walking the street, it looks like they don't particularly know where they want to go or where they are going. We ask them if they live in the area, if they have business in the area. If they do, we tell them that there is a curfew, just go ahead with your business. If they don't and they live in the area, we ask them if they could go home. And we advise them there is a curfew. Most people know there is a curfew and they comply with our demands or commands.
Okay, well, it's nice to know that it's getting quiet out here. That's it from Hollywood Boulevard. Back to you.
Just the words we want to hear, Jody. Thank you. You know, for many, many hours now, your television screen has been filled with images of burning buildings and looting in the streets. Los Angeles has seen all of this before, of course, 27 years ago. Terry Enzer has the images and the lessons we thought we learned from the Watts riots.
And the worst riot in the history of Los Angeles County. And we now have orders to climb higher into the air as pot shots are being taken at us by rioters from the ground. Right?
A helicopter circles overhead as buildings burn and the skies fill with smoke. Suspects scramble.
The fires. Here are 2 kids running away from the fire right now. Whether they're carrying arson-type material or not, I don't know. We saw them running through a parking lot and across a backyard behind a brick building.
Reporters telling the story are in the line of fire.
And I'll tell you, when we hit that street, we knew we were in trouble. Reports of women being pulled out of cars, police officers being pulled out of cars and attempt to drag them out of the cars and beat up on them.
There is a controversial police chief, William Parker, the man for whom Parker Center is named.
And I'm not going to play games with well-meaning people who lack expertise. The difficulty is that the people who are getting hurt here are the police and innocent citizens, and the rioters are prevailing.
The arrest of a black man sparks the violence, touching off deep-seated rage over police brutality.
Your hands up high. You can lift them higher than that, friend. Let's get them up there. First one drops your hands, dead man.
There is a curfew.
Any violation of this rule shall be punished as provided by Section 1600 of the Military and Veterans Code.
Among the community leaders, a young Tom Bradley. Appeals for restraint are ignored.
We can solve it. It is yet time.
At the height of the Watts riot, 10,000 people take to the streets, only 2% of LA's black population.
We got sense enough to know that this is not the final answer. Right at the beginning.
As the destruction spreads over 46 square miles, people ask, why is it taking so long to bring in the National Guard? Finally, they come, 14,000 of them, joining some 900 police, 700 sheriff's deputies, and scores of firefighters.
Small army of policemen, most of them carrying shotguns. National Guardsmen riding jeeps with 30-caliber machine guns. Bodies of several Negroes who have been shot already in this battle stretched out beside the curb.
34 people die. More than 1,000 are injured. Nearly 4,000 are arrested. Looters grab whatever they can, sparing the businesses where the signs say Negro owned.
Governor, I hand you the report been prepared by your commission.
The McCone Commission report on the Watts riot says the problems are many. No jobs, overcrowded schools, police who aren't accountable to the people. It will take time and money to close the gap, the commission says, but it must be done. And now?
Now, 27 years later, the gaps have grown greater. The Rodney King verdict this past week simply was the spark that touched off a spontaneous combustion of discarded people, now 3 generations deep.
Generations later, the black and white images have faded. The problems have not. Terry Anzer, Channel 2 Action News.
That'll do it for this special edition of Nightcast.
We want to let you know what's happening tomorrow. Action News will be on the air at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to bring you the latest on what's happened overnight and also what's ahead for the remainder of the weekend. Have a good and peaceful night.
Good night.